contest, all going on at that exact time in Peoria. Thousands of students were impacted. Following each threat, hotel guests and staff were evacuated from the building. No bomb was found. Chicago sports. Northwestern earns a big win over Wisconsin. It's a road victory at the Kohl Center, 54-52. They visit Ohio State on Thursday. Other college hoops action, DePaul lost to Seton Hall, 69-64. The Bulls overcome a 17-point second-half deficit to beat Portland, 129-121. They host San Antonio later on tonight. In the Real AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am Tournament, Justin Rose is your leader after play was suspended in the final round due to darkness. Rose is currently 15 under par through the first 9 holes play. The news is a service of the AM 560 store with your favorite brands, including Proft University at 560theanswer.com/store. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
No matter the season in Chicago, you can always let the light shine into your home. Wouldn't it be nice to have customized window coverings to give your home a fresh look? The Blind Buddy can help you accomplish that with Graber window treatments. Forget overpriced big box stores or pushy fly-by-night franchises. The Blind Buddy is an independently owned business serving Chicagoland for over 20 years by one of Chicago's first responders. The Blind Buddy offers quality window coverings from Graber at affordable prices. Shutters, wood blinds, solar shades. Choose from a wide variety to fit your home or business, style, and budget. John from the Blind Buddy will come to your home or office and personally handle the job from measurement to installation. The whole process can usually be done in 2 to 3 weeks. Discover the Graber difference from the Blind Buddy. Delight in every detail with Graber window treatments. Go to theblindbuddy.com to book your appointment today. That's theblindbuddy.com, a proud sponsor of Food for the Poor.
5:11 on AM 560 The Answer. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update on the travel times, the service of AM Woodland Outdoor Design when you invest in a home improvement project. Choose quality with AM Woodland Outdoor Design and Lots Custom Carpentry, now at amwoodland.com. Kennedy outbound accident being cleared up at the Hubbard Street Tunnel right now. It's causing some brief delays as you roll through that area. An earlier medical emergency has just been cleared on the Tri-State southbound at Lake Cook Road. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Times of clouds and sun today, the high at 42. Cloudy and breezy, couple of brief showers late evening tonight, low 37. Breezy day tomorrow, clouds will give way to some sun. High tomorrow afternoon at 41. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
23 at O'Hare, 27 Lakefront, 25 Midway, 15 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
This Valentine's Day, pamper your special love at Marshall Pearson Company, 960 North Michigan Avenue, and receive 15% off fine jewelry and designer brands. Family owned and serving Chicago for 94 years, Marshall Pierce specializes in custom engagement rings, stunning diamond rings, diamond bracelets, and one-of-a-kind diamond necklaces. Stop in today to their gorgeous Mag Mile showroom. Browse their vast selection of engagement rings and jewelry designs by Mickey Moto, Marco Bichago, Paul Morelli, and Suzanne Kalon. Timepieces by Cartier, IWC, Jaeger LeCoultre, and more. Make this Valentine's Day one she'll remember. Visit Marshall Pearson Company Fine Jewelers, 960 North Michigan Avenue, open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5. Need ideas? Shop the online gift guide and receive 15% off for a limited time at MarshallPierce.com. Marshall Pearson Company, purveyors of fine jewelry and timepieces since 1928. Call 312-642-4299. Marshall Pearson Company is proud to support Food for the Poor.
Retirement planning can be complicated. From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Tune in to Retirement and Income Radio, hosted by well-known Chicagoland financial educator Mark Kohler. Mark helps listeners in or near retirement protect their savings from market volatility while creating lifetime guaranteed income. Listen to Retirement and Income Radio Sunday afternoons at 3:30 on AM 560, The Answer. Or call Mark now at 844-619-SAFE.
Hi, I'm Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, and I'm currently planning my 2023 auction calendar now. I want to talk to you about items that you are considering selling. You already know that Donnelly Auctions specializes in things like guns and military, automobiles and motorcycles, and Petroliana. But I want to help you sell what you have collected. We have sold collections of police and fire badges, coin collections, and we've set a world record price for our last license plate auction. I may not be a magician, but I can make your collection disappear and reappear as money in your wallet. Donnelly Auctions is a worldwide marketplace with warehouses of collectibles. If you're selling, we can get you top dollar. Monthly auctions you can view and bid online as well. Contact me at 815-923-7000 or through our website at DonnellyAuctions.com for a free, no-obligation consultation. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
Senolytics is here, the revolutionary new way to reduce body fat once and for all.
It's time to get off the diet roller coaster.
Quit the insanity of dieting and losing, only to gain back the weight. Senolytics is a proven medical weight loss system that reboots your metabolism to burn fat. Go to Senolytics.io, Senolytics.io.
This program works with my lifestyle. I was bloated and miserable. I lost 47 pounds and kept it off. Get started today at Senolytics.io.
Senolytics is a medical system, not a fad, that changes the way your body reacts to food, making you both leaner and healthier.
I'm a changed man. I lost weight, added muscle, and my cholesterol is at its lowest ever.
Take that first step, the step to a leaner, healthier, and happier life.
Senolytics.io.
Senolytics.io. Senolytics.io.
Change your life today at Senolytics.io.
Senolytics.io. Senolytics.io.
Results may vary. See website for full details.
Baseball and softball season will be starting soon at fields everywhere. I'm not talking about those overpriced professional palaces with the prima donnas. I'm talking about the neighborhood where the kids, Little League fields, their family, their fathers, their coaches will all be out in the sun. There's a company in Bridgeview, PYT Sports, that's working with volunteer coaches, Little League managers, and dads. Good, hardworking guys that want to help their kids and friends have a good time this summer instead of getting into trouble on the streets. PYT Sports has all the stuff you'll need to furnish dugouts and more. 2-tiered benches, helmet racks, bat racks, and individual player storage. Plus, windscreens and wall pads. Even field tarps to protect from rain so you're ready for game time. Check out the popular Field General, Commander, and Trooper helmet and bat combos to make your dugout look like the pros. Go to pytsports.net, that's pytsports.net, and get ready for a great baseball season. Play ball!
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. The Columbia Journalism Review issued a lengthy and devastating condemnation of mainstream media last week, deconstructing all of the ways in which news outlets failed in the Russia collusion hoax. It started with the Steele dossier, a document that Bob Woodward prophetically called a garbage document at the time, but established media embraced for 2 years or more. Only after the futility of Robert Mueller's probe did these outlets admit their error, and not universally. The New York Times refuses to this day to account for its failures, insisting that they got it right all along. At the same time this review came out, the media elite participated in a Cronkite Media Lab symposium to declare that objectivity has to go. Instead, the media pledged to serve their own identity, life experiences, and cultural contexts. In other words, the media plans to double down on its corrupt approach to reporting news. The CJR report notes that media credibility is at an all-time low. Expect it to get even lower with current leadership. I'm Ed Morrissey.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Unlock Your Wealth with Raj Shah every Saturday morning at 7, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Machine springs to life, opens up one eager eye, focusing it on the sky. The 99 red balloons go by.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It's a throwback. We had the Chinese communists, the red communist balloon over our fair country for the last week until it was shot down on Saturday. So it apparently entered American airspace as we understand it a week ago Saturday, the 28th. And according to the big guy, Mr. 10%, that would be President Biden, he gave the order Wednesday to shoot it down whenever it was appropriate to do so.
Briefed on the balloon. I ordered the Pentagon to shoot it down on Wednesday as soon as possible. They decided, without doing damage to anyone on the ground, they decided that the best time to do that was as it got over water outside within the 12-mile limit. They successfully took it down, and I want to compliment our aviators who did it, and we'll have more to report on this a little later. Thank you.
Mr. President, what did you say about China? What's your message to China?
You were saying the recommendation was from your national security.
I told them to shoot down.
I did.
But the recommendation
they said to me, let's wait till the safest place to do it.
Well, Wednesday, Dan, that was a long time ago. We didn't know about it until, Friday morning, Thursday, real late.
So they scrambled an F-22 Raptor, which can operate above 500,000 feet, and the satellite was 60,000 feet above sea level. And fired off a Sidewinder, and that's that. And this whole thing just blows over, right? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
Well, texters, you could also, text us too, but also spectators that were in Myrtle Beach when it was shot down were just cheering for the U.S. military.
We got it. Boom!
Yeah.
No, just wait for it. This lady's hysterical.
That's my Air Force right there, buddy.
Yeah, that's right.
That's my Air Force right there, buddy. Oh, you gotta love Myrtle Beach. Have you been to Myrtle Beach?
Hold my beer.
Salt
there
of the
in
earth.
Myrtle Beach. So it was a fun couple of days of all the creativity online in the form of memes. But the question is, and we'll talk to Jim Carafano, Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano at the 7 o'clock hour more about this. But no big deal. It just blows over the fact that there was this Chi-Com intel operation that in an unprecedented way, at least that's what former Trump officials are saying, violated international law, breached U.S. sovereignty. No big deal. The big guy took care of it, right? That's not what former DNI John Ratcliffe was saying yesterday on Maria Bartiromo's show.
This past week, unfortunately, the People's Republic of China executed an incredibly successful intelligence operation over the mainland of the United States. And conversely, the Biden administration committed an unprecedented national security blunder of incalculable damage. And I say that, Maria, because we know, the facts are very clear that America's number one adversary, the People's Republic of China, maneuvered a spy craft into U.S. airspace a week ago on Saturday, January 28th, and it didn't leave U.S. airspace until a week later, Saturday, February 4th. And except for the time that it was over Canada, it spent at least 4 days, at least 100 hours continuously over the continental United States in an intelligence operation, again, of incalculable damage, violating U.S. sovereignty of our airspace and our territorial borders in an unprecedented way that I'm not aware has ever happened in our history, Maria, and the Biden administration let that happen.
Mm-hmm. And the pushback or the spin, if you will, coming from the Pentagon, this administration is, oh, no, this is not the first time. It's happened 3 times before, and the Trump administration just didn't disclose it to anybody. Ratcliffe was asked about that. He was the nation's top spy for a time during President Trump's administration.
Well, it's not true. I can refute it. Former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper refuted it yesterday. Former Secretary of State and CIA Director Mike Pompeo has refuted it. But Maria, the American people can refute it for themselves. Do you remember during the Trump administration when photographers on the ground and commercial airline pilots were talking about a spy balloon over the United States that people could look up and see even with the naked eye, and that a media that hated Donald Trump wasn't reporting? I don't remember that either because it didn't happen. As I said to you earlier, this was unprecedented. We have never had a circumstance where an adversary has had spy craft over our country, our continental United States, posing a threat for the better part of a week straight.
So you're telling me everybody lied? NBC has been lying for the last 3 days? They kept saying that this was, this happened 3 times during the Trump administration.
You just heard from John Ratcliffe.
Okay.
I'll let him speak for himself. Also, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mike Mullen, he was on this week with Jonathan Karl, basically saying the same thing.
To my knowledge, it's the first time, I've seen anything come over the country like this. There's no question. And obviously you can't hide it. So this was not an accident. This was deliberate. It was intelligence, and we need to do 2 things. We need to sort out all the details of that. More importantly, we need to make sure we can get this relationship moving in the right direction.
Yeah, well, the relationship not moving in the right direction now. To save face, Anthony Blinken needed to cancel his trip to Beijing because the time's not right to have bilateral talks when you've got this spy balloon over the United States. The the response from the Pentagon, that press briefing that the press secretary for the Air Force, Brigadier General Pat Ryder, gave. He was asked he's like, we know the balloon has violated the airspace. We're monitoring the balloon, watching the balloon. Look, there's the balloon. We're assessing the balloon. Look, it's still there. Now it's at Kansas. Now it's moving to the eastern seaboard. The reporter asked him, is the position of the balloon classified? And he said, we're not going to get into an hour-by-hour location of the balloon. Right now, it's over the center of the continental United States. That's about as specific as I'm going to. And the reporter said, does the public not have the right to know if a balloon is over their state? Well, not to mention you look up and see it. Right. Or somebody sees
clear
it.
Skies. Yeah.
Look, here's the balloon.
Wait, look, it's coming,
Brigadier
honey.
General.
And it's the size, it was the size of 3 school buses, solar powered, and it had a metal fin to maneuver it. So it's, and many cameras on it. And that's, again, the reason why they didn't shoot it down over the mainland. They waited till it was over the ocean. But I don't feel safe. Who feels like who's manning the store? Who's watching the shop? Our security's at risk, and nobody cared. In China, they still maintain that it was a civilian aircraft.
Tony Downers Grove, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Oh, you know what? This fool, Chauncey the gardener, who gets away with this stuff, where they wind them up and they send him out there every so often with calculated things to say, and then he's arrogant on top of it. But Amy, I can't believe that you said, do you think the news media was lying all this time? After the last 8 to 12 years, you're going to ask that question?
I know. I'm a fool.
Well, we're just not that. We're the American people, we're really not that stupid. But this administration and Obama's administration, they've been away with this crap for years. You know what?
Tony, the big guy ordered the code red. That's all you need to know.
Shut it down.
Yeah, right. Well, he's Humpty Dumpty on a wall. That's the wall he's on. He's Humpty Dumpty. And this is, it's all getting exposed, and it'll continue to get exposed unintentionally, I think. But it's going to happen. So we just need to keep waking up.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, he makes a good point. I mean, if this really did happen, now that I'm thinking about it, during the Trump administration, the left would have blown this out of the water. I mean, they would have been all over it.
Chuck and Delavan.
Hey, this is the same government that wouldn't shoot the Chinese plane down because they were scared it was going to hurt the people. But it's the same government that had no problem with poking holes in people's arms for an experiment, gene therapy for a Chinese virus. This here was a test run for the electromagnetic pulse. That's what this was. They're going to do this. That's what this was. And, hey, thanks everybody from Illinois for coming up to Lake Geneva this weekend, too. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Bob, Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for taking my call. Always good talking to you. 2 questions. One is I've been getting all kinds of pictures this weekend on the balloon. For your listeners, be careful what you post. One of my friends posted one with Hunter, and he got put in Facebook jail.
Right. The meme wars, yeah, we got it. I actually was so inspired by Hunter's blow art and all the memes going on. I cobbled together one myself. I'll say what I did. If you have to describe it, it's probably not that good. But my first try, I put Pennywise from the It franchise. Yes. Put She's head on Pennywise the clown, and then the spy balloon with the red balloon, and then the caption was, "Joey, you want a balloon?" Because remember, he used Georgie, you want a balloon to lure.
That's right.
To lure kids, and so that's how the Tricoms are luring Mr. 10%. You see.
What if they're dropping another COVID variant on us?
Yeah. Okay.
Second question.
All right, Bob.
Second question. The disparity on Sundays in the morning news between the way the Republicans handled it and the Democratic handled it. The Republicans wanted that thing shut down when it entered, or in Montana. The Democrats said, let it fly over the country. We don't want to hurt anybody. We're so scared that stuff's going to fall down and people in Montana where it's empty. So we got to let it go into the ocean. So that was interesting. Again, the usual disparity between Republicans and Democrats on how this whole issue was handled.
Thanks for the call, Bob. All right, coming up at 5:38, we have more pressing security concerns in Chicago, like the arrest rates in 2022. We'll start there in the context of a mayor's race that's just 22 days away, at least the primary election. 5:38.
And Dan, I saw something for the first time in reference to the mayoral race. But now let's head into the newsroom. A good Monday morning to Mike Scott.
23 degrees at 5:30 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Turkey is reeling this morning after a massive earthquake, magnitude 7.5. It follows just hours after another deadly quake with a magnitude 7.8.
Hundreds of people are believed to be trapped under rubble. This is the moment a 7-story building collapsed in the Turkish district of Haliliye. Southern Turkey and northern Syria are worst affected. Rescue workers are searching through giant piles of concrete and tangled metal. The quake struck a region packed with refugees displaced by Syria's civil war. According to the Syrian opposition emergency group, the White Helmets, medical facilities there are struggling to cope. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Between that country and Syria, again, around 1,300 people are believed to be dead. Israeli forces have killed 5 Palestinian gunmen in a raid on a West Bank refugee camp. Monday's raid, which the military said was meant to arrest suspects allegedly involved in a botched attack on Israelis, is likely to exacerbate tension in the region. Police were investigating this morning an officer-involved shooting in Aurora. Authorities were called out yesterday to a home in the 900 block of Colorado Avenue on a report of a person armed with multiple knives and making threats toward people at the scene. Officers located that person. That person then charged at police while armed with the knives. Officers only then shot the man, leaving him hospitalized in critical condition. Authorities believe a suspected squatter was killed in a fire on Chicago's southwest side. The blaze broke out yesterday in a two-story brick building in the 6400 block of South Whipple Street. Chicago Fire Department investigating a suspected arson at a Southside restaurant. The blaze began early yesterday at Joy's Fish, Steak, and Seafood at 95th and Halstead. Now, that business was closed at the time and no injuries have been reported. The Civic Federation of Chicago is announcing the passing of longtime President Lawrence Missal. Missal died Saturday following complications from surgery. He was 61. Northwestern Wildcats earn a sweep this season of the Wisconsin Badgers, the first time since, I believe, Evan Eschmeyer was patrolling the paint for the Cats, 95-96. 54-52, the Cats with a win over Wisconsin. College hoops action, DePaul lost to Seton Hall 69-64. The Bulls winners over Portland. They host San Antonio tonight. The news is a service of the AM 560 store with T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University and the Sean Thompson Show. Go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
The Democrats that vote for Joe Biden, they have no idea how government works. They have no idea how anything works, unless they're the financiers of this corporatism we pretend is our government. But what I enjoy is this show, and I mean it, because to watch him walk out there with that 1,000-yard stare, like some moron waiting for rice pudding in Villa Scalabrini, it's almost worth this aggravation.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Baseball and softball season will be starting soon at fields everywhere. I'm not talking about those overpriced professional palaces with the prima donnas. I'm talking about the neighborhood where the kids, Little League fields, their family, their fathers, their coaches will all be out in the sun. There's a company in Bridgeview, PYT Sports, that's working with volunteer coaches, Little League managers, and dads. Good, hardworking guys that want to help their kids and friends have a good time this summer instead of getting into trouble on the streets. PYT Sports has all the stuff you'll need to furnish dugouts and more. 2-tiered benches, helmet racks, bat racks, and individual player storage. Plus, windscreens and wall pads. Even field tarps to protect from rain so you're ready for game time. Check out the popular Field General, Commander, and Trooper helmet and bat combos to make your dugout look like the pros. Go to pytsports.net. That's pytsports.net. And get ready for a great baseball season. Play ball!
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business's doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Be ready. Call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. See a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business. Service and installation positions available. Muscular work for thinkers. Apply at industrialdoor.com.
Hi, I'm Dave Nissen, CEO of PKF Mueller. The current COVID pandemic has been a challenge for all of us, and many businesses struggled and experienced financial distress. Businesses are focused on recovering now, and fortunately, several government programs are available to ease this process. One such program is the Employee Retention Credit, or ERC, an incentive program designed to bolster businesses that were able to retain their employees during the COVID pandemic. Companies may be eligible for up to $26,000 per employee if they qualify, and they may be eligible even if they previously participated in the Payroll Protection Program, or PPP. Most importantly, this is not a loan. No repayment is required. Billions of dollars are still available, yet many companies are underutilizing this credit due to IRS changes on eligibility. Our dedicated ERC team can help to discover if your business is eligible, determine the amount, and assist with the filing of the credit. Contact me directly to learn more at 630-524-5274 or online at pkfmueller.com.
5:37. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that this morning in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update is service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Join today, 560theanswer.com/join. No problems on the Edens or Kennedy. They're off on time this morning. Seeing delays early this morning on the Stevenson, 23 in from 355. Dan Ryan Express lanes inbound jammed up just a bit. 35th into the Stevenson merge. New Lenox, Haven Avenue between Fairfield and Nelson completely shut down after an earlier crash knocked down electrical poles across the road. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun, breezy this afternoon, a high 42. A low of 37 overnight with rain showers beginning. 23 right now at O'Hare. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Would you like to ride in my beautiful balloon?
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We'll be talking more about the Chi-Com's Luft Balloon a little bit later in the program.
See, I like this better than 99 Luft Balloons. Ready?
This music. Lame.
Oh.
Like,
I'm a little older than you, son.
seriously, like terrible 70s.
Fifth Dimension?
It reminds me of that show. What was that show that began with the fireworks display?
Oh.
Right. Of course, well.
I don't remember.
No, shocking. I'm shocking.
Well, you can't remember either.
American something.
Oh, American.
Oh, you're not going to remember it. You're pretending like I give you a word. You're
No.
finish
American.
it.
The movie. The
Graffiti.
sitcom in the 70s.
No,
it started with fireworks.
Yes. No.
What movie are you talking about?
No, not a movie. A
It was
TV
a series.
sitcom. It's a
A
series.
series about...
It started out with fireworks as American Grandstand. No,
American
Bandstand.
Love American Style?
Love American Style, that's it. Thank you, Mike. All right.
1960s.
Was it 60s?
Yeah.
I don't know the difference. I was, a
Bill Bixby, by the way, who turned into the Incredible Hulk later on.
Of course. Yeah.
Wasn't he in the Courtship of Eddie's Father,
No,
too?
Courtship of Eddie's Father.
That's
what he was in.
Well,
You're
Bill
right.
Bixby was in...
Maybe he was in Love American
He was the Incredible
Style.
Hulk.
He was, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you were seeing Bill Bixby was in Love American Style, or he's not?
Yeah, I don't think he was. I think he was in Courtship of Eddie's Father.
I could sing.
sure.
I can sing
Thank
the
you,
theme
Eddie's
song.
father.
No, I can. I can sing it. Love American Style.
No, you can't sing it, apparently.
Be nice. I'm just warming up.
Okay. All right. So anyway, getting back to the topic at order here, before we get into Chicago, because this has applicability, one way you can move migrants out of your city that you don't want in your city, and that's essentially what all these big city Dem socialist mayors are saying. We don't want you here, a la the Martha's Vineyard elites. Thank you so much for coming. Now leave. You just have them experience your city. Then they leave voluntarily. Migrants are taking free bus rides from New York City to Canada for a better quality of life. Not kidding.
This
New
is
York
it from
Post
the Onion?
reporting.
Oh, New York.
New
oh,
York
okay.
Post reporting. No. And they have, it's like we're going somewhere where it's nicer and safer. Yeah, exactly. That's coming from, people from war-torn San Salvador, Managua. I mean, it's just remarkable, but and it's a sad commentary. And, oh, by the way, they're not the only ones because people who've really experienced New York are leaving too. You may remember, because this story went viral, and it was a Post story, about a year ago, a mom fought off a creep who sucker punched her 4-year-old son in Times Square. Oh, that's right. The front page was Mama Bear, and it showed her fighting off this animal that hit her son. Well, she is now fleeing with her family. A year after the horrifying February 17th attack on her son Angel, Rafaela Rivera and her husband Federico, taking their 3 kids and their red Toyota Scion and heading south to calmer environs in the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area. As long as you just got to watch for falling balloon debris. Yeah. But other than that, it's a relief. Everyone is angry in New York. The atmosphere, everybody has to be on their toes. It was the punch, and every day waking up, hearing about shootings, killings, it became too much. And it's got a profile of her family. It's a very nice little family, and good for her. Good for her. And the migrants fleeing to Canada for a better quality of life. What a commentary on our big cities. Well, one of the reasons it's so, as Miss Riviera was essentially intimating, we know all too well in Chicago, is because you turn the city over to repeat violent offenders. How many times can it be said? Not too many. We've got 3 weeks before an election. May inform your choice. A good piece by Matt Rosenberg, our friend over at WirePoints, wirepoints.org. The arrest rates for violent crime in 2022 in Chicago.
What?
No, these are arrest rates, not conviction rates.
Okay.
But so there's just the police on the job. So for homicide, the arrest rate in 2022, 28%. The arrest rate for aggravated battery, 16% of cases. Every other category is in single digits. Oh, my God. Criminal sexual assault, 3% arrest rate. Geez. Robbery, 5%. Burglary, 4%. Theft, 4%. Motor vehicle theft, also commonly known as carjackings, 3%.
That's it? Wow. Well, there's not enough police officers to make these arrests.
But that's part of it.
Or are they, their hands are tied. They can't do police chases. They can't do foot chases. They're afraid if they make a mistake or something happens, they'll not only lose their job and their pension, but go to jail because Lightfoot doesn't have their back.
We had a conversation with a police officer on Friday who left. And this, to me, would be like breaking news. You think this would be relevant in the context of a mayor's race, but I guess if nobody wants to pick it up, certainly the Chicago Press Corps wouldn't be so imprudent as to ask the question because they're a party to the violence. Chicago Press Corps has blood on their hands. Party to the violence. All the major media outlets in Chicago. This officer who left for suburban department for all the obvious reasons, then just decided that, farm living wasn't for him. He wants to come back to Chicago. He had 5 years in the force. He's got 106 other officers who part of this contingent of former CPD who left for the suburbs, want to come back to the city because that's just the kind of police environment they want, even with all the political problems and violence. And so their safety much more at risk there than in most of the suburbs. Not all, but most. And there's been a rehire agreement that was apparently negotiated by FOP to bring these experienced Chicago police officers back on the force, even as the city is struggling to find anybody who wants to go to the academy and potentially be hired. And all these candidates are running around saying how many new police they're going to hire if they're elected. 106 officers who are experienced want to come back to the city. Rehire agreement hammered out. It's been sitting on Mayor Triple Threat's desk for 2 months, he said.
And you think that would make the news?
You'd think somebody would be asked about it, like starting with the mayor. You'd think. Right. You'd think that. You'd be wrong.
Well, most of these reporters, too, they don't live in the city. I can name a few. They don't care. They do their job, and then they leave, and they go back to their safe homes in the suburbs.
Another reason you see those, well, that's true, of course. Another reason you see those numbers, those arrest numbers.
Yeah.
Let me just,
That's
the cases that we tell you about routinely, that CWB Chicago reports on. Routinely. Every day there's a new case study that helps to make it concrete as opposed to just, abstract data. Here's one. Cook County judge sentenced a Chicago man to a 21-year sentence for robbing a convenience store at gunpoint while he was on electronic monitoring for allegedly robbing another store. Well, there you go. He was on electronic monitoring for robbing another store. Therein lies the problem, doesn't it? Of course, he's going to, 50% off for good behavior, so it's not really a 21-year sentence, even though that's a stiff sentence for robbery, but maybe not for a repeat offender who's on electronic monitoring. By the way, something else here. He put aluminum foil over his ankle bracelet so as not to be detected leaving his place to go rob this convenience store. Is that all it takes?
That's it? I had no idea it was so easy.
I don't know either, but that's the reporting on it. He also will get time served for the 400. He gets credit. I should say not time served, but he gets credit for the 425 days spent in jail before pleading. So he spent a year and 4 months in jail, awaiting trial, and then ultimately cutting a deal, I guess, in which he was sentenced to 21 years with all those caveats I mentioned. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. A year and a month in jail before pleading. Really? Huh.
Wonder how many crimes he committed.
Well, he was in jail.
Oh, in jail. I'm sorry.
So why is that interesting to me? Oh, because I was paying attention last year when the Safety Act was passed. And then I was paying attention after the election when the Safety Act was amended, even though we spent a year being ridiculed that no amendments were needed. This was good law. It was going to make people safer. It was going to make the system more equitable. And the only people that were critical of it were fearmongers and racists like me. So I remember all that. Do you? Does anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anybody else want to chime in on that? 425 days. 420. Why is that? 425 days in jail before his case was adjudicated. Why would that be? Huh. Was it interesting? Oh, right. Because part of the Safety Act is a maximum 90-day pretrial detention. And that got slightly amended where prosecutors can obtain continuances with good cause requested by prosecutors at judicial discretion. Well, I don't know. Cook County is full of Democrat judges who are appointed by Democrat pals, and it's not even though I'm hardly a defender of Madigan and Burke and the like, it's not really them so much anymore as they're out, aren't they? So what's the modern Democrat Socialist Party look like? Is who's making those calls these days? And what kind of disposition will many of those judges have to prosecutors, given Kim Foxx? If Kim Foxx and her people even would seek continuances in good faith to provide more time to bring good cases to secure convictions against violent criminals. Oh, right, I remember that. 90 days. He was in for 425. So that's another case of foreshadowing for what is to come pending the Supreme Court's decision on the Safety Act, which is anticipated this spring, the constitutionality of it. So single digits in most categories of violent crime in terms of arrests, not even getting to the clearance rates yet, convictions. Barely more than 1 in 4 on murders. So I guess you can understand why criminals roll the dice and why they can roll the dice again and again and again, because they're turned out on electronic monitoring sometimes, just released on other times. The disposition, the attitude of the political ruling class in Chicago and Cook County and Illinois, as illustrated by the 1.0 version of the Safety Act, is what? No bail. No cash bail. Turn them right out. Turn them right out. You're on a 90-day clock to get them to trial. If you can't get them to trial, then they go out pending trial, and they're left to do it. They're left to their own devices. These are people who can continue to do the same things and continue to get the same pass by the criminal justice system. So yeah, all the problems with policing, but it's really the other side of the criminal justice system that produces those dismal numbers in terms of arrests when it comes to violent crimes, like serious quality. Every crime is a quality of life crime, but these are serious, potentially life-altering, traumatic, violent crimes. Single digits, top out at barely more than 1 in 4 for capital offense for murder. And you wonder why mama bears from New York to Chicago are leaving for places like South Carolina and Florida. Oh, and by the way, the problem in terms of the prospect of turning it around, the good news, bad news, depends on which side of this U-Haul trip you're on. But for those who think, oh, I'm worried about all these people fleeing and they're going to turn Texas into California and they're going to turn Florida into New York. The vice chair of the Florida Republican Party.
Yeah.
Only 17,000 of the net 1 million that have moved to the state of Florida registered Democrat. 17,000 of 1 million. No. These are, as I've said from the beginning, and as we saw with the midterms, these are red states getting redder and bigger, and blue states getting bluer and smaller. Those are the actual trend lines.
Yeah, but it still makes me mad that those 17,000 registered as Democrats, because they fled their blue state and are taking advantages of the freedoms in a red state, and they don't care. They should be more grateful. Personally, that's just my...
I'm really appreciative of those who are intellectually consistent, those new Marxists who are intellectually consistent and staying in their state. They're lashed to the mast in Illinois and New York and California and Connecticut. Great. Good. Let me know how it goes.
Well,
Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Jason Zenger, owner of Zenger's Industrial Supply and host of the Making Chips podcast, and a proud customer of Signature Bank. Through rapid growth, acquisitions of competitors, and taking over from the previous generation, Signature Bank was there with us every step of the way. Recently, the team introduced us to FinRails AP, their proprietary system for accounts payable automation. Not only did FinRails AP help us to reduce costs and create efficiencies, but it also helped minimize fraud risk. Now, our company can invest time into what we do best, supplying industrial products, metalworking tooling, contractor tools, and safety supplies to those who make, build, and create great things for our country.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I'm in the medical field, and I think when you start out these things, everything from the advertisement sounds so good that you're psyched up for it to work. It's working. Anyway, I'm happy.
Balance of Nature has made a big difference. It's just one of the greatest products, and it's just so simple, and it works.
Balance of Nature is a fantastic product. You could tell it's real. You could taste it. And it gives you really good energy, and it's just right up there with rent, electric cable, like things that you have to have. I'm not cutting Balance of Nature. No, I love it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
If you're selling your home or purchasing a new home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Team Hochberg is offering every listener the Perks at Work benefit, which can save you thousands of dollars on your next real estate transaction. Here's how it works. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor sells your home, they'll reduce their fee up to 1%. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor helps you purchase a home, you will receive up to 1% of their commission in the form of a closing cost credit. Team Hochberg will credit all of your loan origination fees, and our affiliated attorney will reduce his fee. Last year, a couple who was buying and selling a home saved close to $9,000 with the Team Hochberg Perks at Work program. To learn how you can save thousands of dollars on your next real estate transaction, please give me a call now at 855-56-DAVID or visit our website, 56david.com. That number again is 855-563-2843 or visit our website, 56david.com. Lower.com, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061.
Spills happen every day in your workplace, anywhere gasoline, diesel, machine, crude, or cooking oils are used. These spills not only disrupt workflow production, but are hazardous to employees and the public. You need a team that can come in and clean up that spill and get your crew back to work and remove the ugly, unsightly stains. You need Cabino Environmental Field Services, an environmental response team to the rescue. Using sustainable, all-natural green products, they mitigate the spills and extract the stain from the pavement. The only byproduct is the used oil absorbent that gets recycled as a fuel source. This is one of the most economical, sustainable, and green ways to manage an oil spill. For stains on your residential garage floor, rooftop, patio around the barbecue, parking lot, or pavement around your fuel pumps, Cabino Environmental is available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Call 815-373-5176 or click on Emergency Fuel and Oil Cleanup online at CabinoEnvironmental.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It is Black History Month, and so on a very special episode of the Disney Plus cartoon Proud Family, you have a demand for reparations. 606.
But now let's head straight into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Amy and Dan, here are the stories we're watching for you today. A man armed with knives shot by Aurora police. CPD says it was an arson fire at a Southside restaurant that caused significant damage. A 16-year-old boy killed in a West Side shooting. Suspect in a deadly shooting outside of a Rockford meat market has been taken into custody in Alabama. Bulls come back to beat the Blazers. The Illini get upset by Iowa, and Northwestern takes down Wisconsin. WIND, Chicago News Time, 6.
Turkey just got rocked again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. An aftershock almost as powerful as the earthquake it followed. The 7.8 magnitude quake caused widespread destruction. At least 1,300 people are dead, more than 6,000 injured.
The quake was centered north of the southern Turkish city of Gaziantep, but buildings have been flattened on both sides of the nearby Syrian border. Residents rushed from their beds to escape shuddering homes. Many simply couldn't get out in time. Here, a rescue worker lies under precariously balanced concrete to speak to someone trapped in the rubble.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. China says the U.S. overreacted, shooting down their spy balloon Saturday off the South Carolina coast, where the Navy's working to recover pieces.
Which is expected to take days. We're told recovery efforts began not long after the balloon was shot down. The suspected spy balloon floated for at least a week through the continental U.S., passed over at least 5 sensitive U.S. military sites, including Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, home to one of 3 of the nation's nuclear missile silos.
Fox's Charles Watson in Myrtle Beach. Republicans are critical of the Biden administration response. Congressman Mike Turner tells NBC's Meet the Press.
This should never have been allowed to enter the United States, and it never should have been allowed to complete its mission.
Biden administration officials claim several Chinese balloons flew over the U.S. in the Trump era, but weren't detected until after that administration was out of office. They handed out the Grammys last night, and Beyonce stole the show on CBS.
Thank you so much.
I'm trying not to be too emotional.
Beyonce broke the record for the most lifetime Grammy wins with 32, sound courtesy of the Recording Academy. She went into the night with the most nominations and the most Grammy Awards with 28.
That's Fox's Michelle Polito. Harry Styles won Album of the Year. Lizzo got Record of the Year. Bonnie Raitt Song of the Year. America's listening to Fox News.
23 degrees, 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Here in the Chicago area, officials are continuing to monitor after police started their investigation over an officer-involved shooting in Aurora. Authorities say officers were called out yesterday to a home in the 900 block of Colorado Avenue on report of a person armed with multiple knives and making threats toward people at the scene. Officers then located that person, who charged at police while armed with the knives. Only then did officers fire at the man, shooting and hospitalizing him in critical condition. A 16-year-old boy is dead, shot on Chicago's west side. Police say the teen was walking last night on the sidewalk in the 2200 block of South Keeler when two unknown males exited a vehicle and began shooting. The victim suffered a gunshot wound to the upper chest. There is no one in custody. Authorities believe it was a suspected squatter that was killed in a fire on Chicago's southwest side in the 6400 block of South Whipple, and the cause of that fire in an abandoned building remains under investigation. Wallet Hub says retirees are better off in North Dakota and Nebraska than Illinois. Analyst Joe Gonzalez says Illinois ranks near the bottom at 44th in the country as best places to retire.
The Midwest, the Dakotas were both in the top 10. Minnesota was in the top 10. Some other states do a little bit better as well, Wisconsin and Ohio. And Nebraska, all in the top half. Illinois finds its way down toward the bottom.
The generally poor tax policy and lack of taxpayer friendliness toward retirees were the main factors in Illinois' low ranking. Northwestern earns a 54-52 win over Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. Other college hoops action: DePaul lost to Seton Hall 69-64. Number 25 Fighting Illini lost to unranked Iowa 81-79 at Carver Hawkeye, and now they host Minnesota tomorrow night. Kyrie Irving on the move once again in the NBA, the guard being traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Dallas Mavericks. The news, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. You can now enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock all day, every day. Listen now, Dan and Amy247.com. 6:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager will tackle the tough issues.
The U.S. has suffered nearly 300,000 more deaths than usual in more than 2 years of the pandemic that cannot be attributed to COVID, with researchers blaming lockdowns and delays to health care. If you know that the lockdowns were damaging, especially to young kids, do you still trust your doctor?
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
How far will the left go to win 2024? Will they send out more stimulus checks, pass more student loan bailouts, or give away trillions more to left-wing groups? The simple truth is they don't care if your retirement is eroded down to a fraction of its value. They just want to win. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. I want to encourage you to diversify your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into a physical gold IRA. And the only company I recommend for gold IRAs is conservative-owned Birch Gold Group. To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get their free info kit on gold IRAs. Do this now before Democrats have a chance to legislate away your life savings. Get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting PROTECT to the number 989898. There's nothing to buy and no obligation at all. So use your agency. Take action now. Text the word PROTECT to the number 989898.
Your customers rely on hoists and cranes to do the heavy lifting at their companies. But when a hoist fails, your business can come to a halt. You need to be up and running with replacement parts or a new hoist fast. Call Cressel Power at 800-243-5432. ACO Material Handling Solutions has partnered with Cressel Power Equipment to create the fastest electric chain and wire rope hoist delivery in the business through the ACO Rapid Ship program at Cressel Power. They'll keep you stocked and running. Cressel also has the fastest delivery of genuine ACO replacement parts on the continent. They can deliver ACO Lift chain and ACO Right wire rope hoists as quick as the same day. The new ACO Lift SC electric chain hoist is in stock now. A lightweight, high-speed electric chain hoist available in 1/8 to 1/2 ton capacities. Speak to a representative at Cressel Power. Call 800-243-5432. That's 800-243-5432.
It is 6:07. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Kennedy, on the outbound side, an accident has just cropped up. Again, that's outbound on the Kennedy, right at the Tri-State this morning, 24 minutes outbound to O'Hare. Dan Ryan Express lanes jammed up Pershing to the Stevenson Expressway. Inbound Bishop Ford already picking up heavy traffic, 103rd into the Ryan merge. Reagan accident eastbound between York and the Tri-State. Again, that's 88 eastbound between York and 294. Traffic is service of Barry Sterner and Townstone Financial. To purchase, refinance, call Barry Sterner at Townstone Financial, 312-896-2110, or visit townstone.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Times of clouds and some sun for today. Our high 42. Cloudy, breezy tonight. A couple of brief showers beginning late this evening. Low tonight at 37. Clouds and sun. A breezy day tomorrow. High tomorrow at 41. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
23 at O'Hare. 27 along the lakefront. 25 midway. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. On a very special episode of the Disney Plus cartoon Proud Family. The scene in the episode, a group of BIPOC girls, like, girl band style, performing at a school function, sort of a poetry slam-ish type performance.
Like a talent show kind of too?
Take a listen.
This country was built on slavery, which means slaves built this country.
Tilled this land from sea to sea to sea. First there was rice, tobacco, sugar cane.
Then Whitney did his thing and cotton became king. And we were its soldiers,
4 million strong,
fighting for America's freedoms, even though we remained America's slaves.
Built this country. The descendants of slaves continue to build it.
Slaves built this country. And we, the descendants of slaves in America, have earned reparations for their suffering.
And continue to earn reparations every moment we spend submerged in the systemic prejudice, racism, and
white supremacy
that America was founded with and still has not atoned for.
Slaves built this country. Not only field hands, but carpenters, masons,
blacksmiths, musicians,
inventors built cities from Jamestown to New Orleans to Banneker, Washington. 40 acres and a mule.
We'll take the 40 acres, keep the mule.
We made your families rich.
From the southern plantation heirs
to the northern bankers
to the New England ship owners, the founding fathers,
former presidents,
current senators,
the Illuminati, the New World Order.
Slaves built this country.
We had Tubman,
Turner,
Frederick D.
Didn't they say Lincoln freed the slaves?
But slaves were men.
And women.
And only we can free ourselves.
Emancipation is not freedom. Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, public schools feeding private prisons, where we become slaves again.
As we celebrate Juneteenth
for the umpteenth time,
our account is still outstanding.
Cause this country was built on slavery, which means
slaves built this country. And we Demand our 40 acres and a mule.
Bump that!
You can keep the mule.
Keep the 40.
We're taking our freedom!
312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line. 646-36DA, Turnkey.pro text line. That's fun viewing for the young ones, isn't it? That's a Disney Plus cartoon again, so it's for kids. Yeah. What do you think?
When I saw it, I watched it a few times, and I mean, they're really pushing their narrative. They're really trying to brainwash kids, young black kids, to be victims and to demand, they don't want the mule or the 48, they want reparations. That's what they want. I know. I don't know who let this slip by, but obviously, why would I be surprised anymore? The media lies all the time. What did you think of it?
I let it slip by. This was an accident? So this was an oversight on somebody's part?
That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. I'm just
we don't know anything about Disney. We're just learning about Disney's programming? Just learning about the attitude of TV execs in trying to exploit race the same way that the high priestesses of the race hustle, like Ibram Kendi and Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I haven't heard from in a while, but he certainly qualifies. The first one to rise to prominence before your Henry Rogerses and your Robin DiAngelos and others came along. Ta-Nehisi Coates was on with that pandering ninny and Rachel Maddow lookalike, Chris Hayes. Maybe it was Maddow. I don't know. I cannot tell the two apart on MSNBC. And they're talking about not the Disney cartoon, but this is ubiquitous in culture. That sort of rap that you just heard, including from their perspective, righteous indignation, the righteous rage for kids. K through 12 education as well. And so this was an extended talk by Coates because, of course, Chris Hayes / Rachel Maddow, whichever one it was, just over the moon to be in Ta-Nehisi Coates' presence.
Oh, boy. Did you get a tingle up the leg?
So the DeSantis pushback on the AP's African American Studies course.
Right.
The DeSantis pushback on CRT instruction in the classroom, critical race theory, and it's not even just instruction or introduction. It is the indoctrination piece, the way that it's presented as like it was received on tablets from on high. That's the way. And so you have, but I mean, these are sophisticated hustlers. They know what they're doing, and they know what the criticism is going to be. So they actually have to mouth some of the words that allow them to be dismissive of the criticisms without being specific. Give you an example. Coates, who teaches at Howard, when he's not cashing in, making speeches at universities and so forth, said this is how he approaches his classroom and the kids in it.
The fascinating part of me is, was it only 2 years ago that there was this notion that kids on campus were too soft and, needed to be coddled and this, that, and that. And now we have literal laws saying that. We have actual laws, not, beliefs, not ideas, but actual on the books laws saying that, students, in the most recent case, in an AP class of all places, are somehow too sensitive to be exposed to ideas that, give them a SAD. It is, utterly ridiculous. And it's so clearly not education. The point of it is not education. I'm a teacher, too. I teach down at Howard University. I expose my kids to all sorts of things from all sorts of perspectives that I do not hold myself.
Really? Could you give us an example?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he wasn't asked to give an example. And we know, actually, we'll get to it, some commentary from other academics that isn't the case. Because these high priests and priestesses of the race hustle don't have to debate, don't want to debate, and so they certainly don't have to. They're not going to be questioned. Everything that they utter is taken as received wisdom from white media. So why put yourself in a situation where you could be exposed as the intellectual fraud that you are? So they don't. The nice little piece of rhetorical artifice there. You know, these kids, they're too soft, they're snowflakes, they can't hear anything that would make them sad. Well, to the extent that's true, and that it is true to a large extent, that's because of the sort of culture that Ta-Nehisi Coates promotes, where white supremacy lurks behind every corner, and thus blacks and other minorities are perpetually being victimized from every direction. And so their rights to be sensitive, or worse. Secondly, I agree with you, that's not education. And you need to be exposed to ideas that challenge whatever it is you bring to the table or you've been told to believe. But I go back to say, okay, well then give me an example. What you do in your classroom. And give me a specific criticism of the pushback against the one-size-fits-all binary, dare I say, oppressor-oppressed curriculum that now dominates every level of education in this country. And it will continue to dominate despite, Ron DeSantis' best efforts, even in his state. That's not going to go without incident. Coates talks about that backlash in places like Florida.
You're seeing it. You're seeing it in schools. You're seeing it in certain ways in which, like criminal justice laws, backlash against bail reform, all these different places where progress is made. You can see the backlash politics being marshaled
and I just think that's because the idea is sticking. Like, how does the 1619 Project end up in an executive order? Like, think about that. Like, what piece of journalism can you remember ending up in an executive order?
I mean, no piece of journalism I've ever produced has any...
Me either, brother.
Has any president ever cared that much about one way or the other?
Me either. And so what that means is people are afraid.
Right.
That means something is sticking in the minds. They're actually using the levers of the state. It doesn't mean it's not dangerous. I want to be really clear about that. But it's also a statement of how threatened they feel and, the effect that some of this work has had.
Mm-hmm. Right. They laugh it off as, they're just, you're ignorant and so you're fearful. Right. That's what Ta-Nehisi Coates and the Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes mashup person would have you believe. Oh, it's just a joke. They don't know anything, and they're afraid because this is a challenge to the trappings of white supremacy they enjoy, effectively. Is that what's happening? Ron DeSantis is afraid. You're afraid if you don't want this poison being peddled to your kids. Particularly in an environment where disagreement is not tolerated. Disagreement is racism.
I mean, cartoons have changed. I haven't watched cartoons since my kids were little, But now we didn't have politics in cartoons, so I don't know why they have to bring that back.
Why the 1619 Project got the attention of President Trump? Why you're an op-ed that you wrote for The Atlantic, Ta-Nehisi Coates didn't, is because your op-eds in The Atlantic dissipate into the ether. The 1619 Project has the New York Times' blowtorch, the Pulitzer Foundation. It's being packaged into curriculum that's being drop-shipped to government schools around the country, and it's full of inaccuracy. And it's being drop-shipped to people that are going to turn around and instruct using it as the God's honest truth. And no dissent is allowed. This is Kramer at the AIDS Walk. You better put the ribbon on. You're just supposed to celebrate it. You're not supposed to question it. And by the way, a lot of noted historians, not particularly of the conservative persuasion, have been specifically devastating in their criticism of the 1619 Project, this agitprop produced by Nicole Hannah-Jones and all those other players that I just mentioned. For example, Princeton history professor Alan Guelzo. The 1619 Project, to put it on a short compass, is an attempt to recenter our understanding of American history. What they mean by recenter is to see the presence of slavery and race as the central narrative of American history. It's the indelible sin, and there is no reconciliation. There is no sufficient contrition, and everything that has transpired and transpires to this very moment needs to be pushed through a racial prism. That's what they do. That's what the high priests like Ta-Nehisi Coates and Hank Rogers and Robin DiAngelo and the street hustler varieties that lack the intellectual chops of those people, like your Al Sharptons or your Jesse Jacksons. This is what they do, and this is what you're going to see on steroids for the next month. You see it all the time, every day. You're going to see it on steroids this month. You're going to see it. If your kids are watching Disney cartoons like Proud Family. Why does it matter? Oh, 1619. Oh, it's being, this is just boogeyman politics by the right. That's what they're suggesting, is it? What do you hear in your kids' schools? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Here's the tell on Coates. Here's sort of his thesis of the world.
That if ideas of white supremacy become less ingrained in the body politic, then when folks look around at the jail system, maybe they actually really do start asking questions. When folks look around at who's poor and who's not, maybe they really do start asking questions in a way that they didn't before. I think of it like the foundation of a building. You can chip away, and you can see progress, in the chipping away, but the building might still be there. You know what I mean? And so it is that the edifice of white supremacy still is there, even as the foundation, is being chipped away.
So this country's foundation is white supremacy, and that foundation persists. There have been some progress made here and there, trying to make more, no cash bail, he just mentioned, they both mentioned, in addition to this agitprop in the schools. At the same time, the cartoon, on the one hand, they reference Frederick Douglass, Frederick D., they put his visage on Mount Rushmore. On the other hand, they know nothing about Frederick Douglass, or at least not the complications from their point of view, like he opposed government distribution of benefits based on race because he saw how devastating that was to blacks when benefits or punishments, obligations were distributed by race. So you're just going to perpetuate a system where it's a fight for the levers of power to impose your will and subjugate those who don't look like you. So maybe sometimes blacks will be in that position. Probably more often it'll be whites, and that's not good for blacks. Frederick Douglass. Frederick D. They know that? Could they address that? They never have to. They never have to. And this is the point that John McWhorter makes, who's not a Republican, a linguistics professor from Columbia University, who we often cite on this show. He gave an interview per his new book. He was on our show to discuss it as well. This is back last year, Woke Racism, How a New Religion Has Betrayed Black America. John McWhorter, Democrat, Columbia University linguistics professor. The intellect of Ta-Nehisi Coates and then some. He was asked in a Politico interview, you frame this idea that that anti-racism, this woke racism, as you call it, has been elevated to the level that it's now on par with religion. You name-check some folks who are thought to be some of the preeminent writers, like Ta-Nehisi Coates and Ibram Kendi. I guess your thinking is these writers don't get challenged enough in their positions on race. McWhorter said, I didn't write the book because of those priests, which is literally what they are, But there does need to be another side put forth, and there are some very serious flaws in the way that kind of person looks at things that are not challenged by the mainstream media in any real way. You see challenges to those people on social media, but those people are allowed to walk with their heads high, never defend themselves in the public square. Ta-Nehisi Coates and I are not friends, and it goes way back. He does not respect me, and as far as Kendi, he has nothing but the deepest contempt for me, which you can see by viewing some of his tweets. So you have to understand that the priests in question here are not open to other ideas. They don't think of somebody like me as having a challenging viewpoint. They think of me as a heretic, so they're not going to talk to me. There's bad blood. And he is further asked that, he says his book is not a book for right-wing America, and it's not. But he's asked, but some of what you say is something you certainly will hear in conservative media. How do you square the two ideas? And he squares them by saying, because those people are coming after your kids. I don't think they're going to succeed, but the idea is to infiltrate public and especially private education. I'm seeing all over the country private schools that are going full out for this, centering the entire curriculum on raging against power differentials, as opposed to that being one thing you learn about in some classes. I'm concerned. I don't want educational theory to be infused with an anti-intellectual limiting ideal of what an education is supposed to be. I've got no problem with kids being taught about how racism works, about the fact there was slavery, that there was Jim Crow. That's fine. That's different from the sorts of things we're seeing happen in some school curricula, and I think we need to stand athwart it and yell, stop. Yeah, we do. And don't get backed down by the beautiful lies, well packaged, offered up by Ta-Nehisi Coates and others. If you need intellectual cover, John McWhorter and Bob Woodson and Shelby Steele and Jason Hill over at DePaul University and others provide much of it. But you better stand up and yell stop. And there's no better time to do it than Black History Month, when you're being inundated by this, what I said, intellectual poison, like was presented on that Disney cartoon. Like it's being presented in every frackin' classroom in America, just about. Diana in Avondale, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I'm a teacher at Chicago Public Schools, and I am a strong believer that we need to go back to the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic. We have no place speaking to parents about personal matters as far as politics and religion. We have no place to be saying anything for that. That's all that teachers should do, reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's ridiculous how often people think that we need to get involved with this politics. The union sucks as well. And I think that if more people stood up to the union, these things wouldn't happen.
Thanks for the call, Diana. Appreciate it. Yeah. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or are taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or are on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote right now by visiting termprovider.com. That's termprovider.com, or simply call Term Provider at 800-333-1750. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-333-1750. That's 800-333-1750.
Old Man Winter is here, and you'll need a heating and cooling company you know you can depend on. Look no further. That company is the original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling. They're not one of those massive impersonal companies with inexperienced technicians and subcontractors. Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling sends only their own highly skilled technicians. From service to installation and everything in between, their work quality and customer service is the best. The original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling keeps homes and businesses comfy and warm. Call Carrie at 847-545-1700 or visit arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. That's Carrie at 847-545-1700 or online at arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. Get 20% off your first service and ask about their service contracts. The original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, not the biggest, just the best.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Fake meat, it's what's not for dinner at 6:36.
And later, police in California shoot a double amputee, and now those officers are on leave. Now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
6:32, 23 degrees. Officials monitoring the smoldering, tangled wreckage of a train derailment in Ohio are warning hundreds of nearby residents who had declined to evacuate to do so immediately, citing concerns about a potential explosion.
About 50 cars were involved in the derailment, 20 of which contain hazardous materials. At this time, we are unaware of any injuries to the train crew, first responders, or members of the community.
Michael Graham says cars involved were carrying vinyl chloride. Turkey reeling after another powerful earthquake. This one a magnitude 7.5, just hours after an even more deadly magnitude 7.8 quake.
Hundreds of people are believed to be trapped under rubble. This is the moment a 7-story building collapsed in the Turkish district of Haliliye. Southern Turkey and northern Syria are worst affected. Rescue workers are searching through giant piles of concrete and tangled metal. The quake struck a region packed with refugees displaced by Syria's civil war. According to the Syrian opposition emergency group, the White Helmets, medical facilities there are struggling to cope. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Between that country and Syria, more than 1,400 people now are believed to have been killed. Israeli forces have killed 5 Palestinian gunmen in a raid on a West Bank refugee camp. Monday's raid was meant to arrest suspects allegedly involved in a botched attack on Israelis. The suspected downing of a Chinese spy balloon off the coast of South Carolina created quite a spectacle that drew reactions from bewilderment to cheers. Senator Ted Cruz says the president should have had the suspected balloon shot down much sooner than Saturday.
He allowed a full week for the Chinese to conduct spying operations over the United States, over sensitive military installations.
The balloon was struck by a missile from an F-22 fighter jet just off Myrtle Beach. General Pervez Musharraf, who seized power in a bloodless coup and later led a reluctant Pakistan into aiding in the U.S. war in Afghanistan, has died. He was 79 and had been in declining health. The general ruled Pakistan after his 1999 coup over tensions with India. High winds and a cold snap in Greece halted ferry service and highway traffic, dusting the Acropolis and other ancient monuments in Athens with snow today. Police are investigating after an officer-involved shooting in Aurora, Colorado. Authorities say it happened in the 900 block of Colorado Avenue in Aurora. They responded to a report of a person armed with multiple knives. That person later charged at police, and only then did police shoot the man. An investigation is underway following a deadly wrong-way crash on DuSable Lakeshore Drive on Chicago's south side early yesterday morning. One person dead following a major crash on the Dan Ryan. It happened late Saturday night. The victim pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. The southbound lanes of the Ryan were shut down for several hours following that crash. City of Chicago officials have announced the winning monikers in the You Name a Snowplow contest. 17,000 responses from Chicago residents, totaling up more than 80,000 votes. The top vote getter, Mrs. O'Leary's Plow. Wildcats over Wisconsin in Big Ten hoops 54-52. In other college hoops action, DePaul lost to Seton Hall 69-64. In the real AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am tournament, Justin Rose is your leader, but the final round was suspended due to darkness. The first 9 holes are in the books, and Justin Rose is 15 under par. They will resume later on today. The news, a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher doesn't believe the rhetoric.
You see, this is a fascinating tactic of the left. What they're trying to do is pretend that the violence that we saw erupting all through the streets of America after George Floyd, and even the violence we saw this weekend in Atlanta, don't believe your lying eyes, it's not really violent. Burning down a building is a peaceful way to say you didn't like the fact that George Floyd was killed.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago. The violence in Chicago must stop. Willie Wilson pledges real action to do that. A revised police structure, 4 superintendents, more accessible to their neighborhoods, providing faster communication and concentration of resources. Willie Wilson pledges more integrated police patrols to increase community, confidence, and cooperation. Willie Wilson's pledge will make Chicago safer. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
At Inspired Closets Chicago, there's no place they can't transform. Life is busy, and an organized space helps calm the chaos and bring order to your family's daily grind. Inspired Closets Chicago takes care of everything from start to finish. From your free in-home design consultation to developing your 3D design through installation, Inspired Closets Chicago makes it easy so you can enjoy the process. Learn more at inspiredclosetchicago.com or visit one of their showrooms for inspiration. Proud sponsor of Food for the Poor.
If one of your goals this year is to do business with companies who share your values, then hop on the Pure Talk bandwagon. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, is the antidote to woke wireless. That's why they are proudly veteran-owned, why they proudly employ a U.S.-based customer service team, and why they refuse to spend their money on fake news networks. And I haven't even started talking about the service. It's quite excellent. One of the largest networks in the country. You're going to get blazing fast data, talk, and text for just $30 a month. That's probably half of what you're paying Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. Keep your phone, keep your number, and switch over in as little as 10 minutes. Plus, Pure Talk has a first-month risk-free guarantee. Try it. If you're not completely happy with your Pure Talk service, you'll get your money back. Support a company that supports you. Dial pound 250, say Dennis Prager, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250, say Dennis Prager. Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless.
6:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Discover. We could talk about how complicated other banks make it to redeem credit card rewards, or we could talk about how with Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply. Inbound Edens is at 18 minutes from Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy on the outbound side, stop and go traffic out to the big airport between I-90 and O'Hare. Eisenhower inbound 37-390 to the old post office. Stevenson 35-355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan outbound, disabled vehicle left lane block. That's outbound on the Ryan at 71st. Accident on the Reagan I-88 eastbound. It's on the exit ramp to the northbound Tri-State. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun, breezy this afternoon, high 42. Mostly cloudy, couple of brief showers. Beginning late in the evening, a low of 37. 23 at O'Hare, 25 Midway. Next news coming up at 7. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Have you ever had one of those Impossible Burgers?
Like the no meat burgers, the veggie burgers, or fake meat? Because there's so many different kinds. You got yeah. No,
Impossible
I have not,
Burgers,
yeah.
like brought to you from Impossible Foods or Beyond Meat. These synthetic meat companies.
I have not. Have you?
Plant-based protein makers and all that. No. Why would I?
I can't see.
I'm not buying an electric car, and I'm not eating the plant-based synthetic meat. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. This was supposed to be something that would revolutionize our diets and reduce our carbon footprints at the same time. Because, you
have to do your part, Dan, because cows are bad.
Yeah. Well, fake meat, it's increasingly going to not be what's for dinner. Interesting data here. Both investors as well as employees are being shed. Both companies are laying off 20% of their workforce amid falling sales. Beyond Meat sales fell more than 22% in the third quarter of 2022, year over year. They blamed inflation. Beyond Meat stock is down about 67% compared to a year ago. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be new entrants to the marketplace, probably underwritten by the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, or more to the point, sort of backdoor Green New Deal legislation and the couple of $100 billion that John Podesta gets to dole out, friend of the big guy. But, yeah. Impossible Burgers, Beyond Meat, and Impossible Foods. Don't take a long position on those. Government subsidies or not. Speaking, connected story, that war on stoves that's been laughed at. That's war on stoves. Nobody's coming to take your gas stove. That's not happening. Well, it is sort of happening. I suppose the Impossible Burgers, it doesn't matter whether it's electric or gas. They're so awful. If you just want protein, why don't you just have a protein, one of those protein bars? Doesn't it give you the same amount of protein?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If you want a burger, then get a proper burger. Anyway, the Consumer Product Safety Commission is actually moving to ban stoves. They're just gas-powered stoves. They're just doing it through the back door because they can't do it through the front. Where have we seen this story before? What the left can't get through the legislative process, they do what? They move to the administrative state and they just have them implement it through the back door. Right. Sort of like the government's takeover of health care. Couldn't get Hillary Care passed, couldn't get everything they wanted in Obamacare, even though it was passed. And so you just continue to work through the alphabet soup of bureaucracies to implement what you'd like to do under color of something that was authorized by the legislative process, signed by the executive, no matter how tenuous the connection. The Energy Department has proposed new efficiency standards that would ban the sale of most gas stoves currently on the market. In point of fact, 20 of the 21 gas stove top models that the Energy Department tested, thank God we have an Energy Department, wouldn't comply with the proposed standards. Manufacturers would have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars redesigning stoves if they'd even bother. And, of course, then your gas-powered stove is going to be that much more expensive, isn't it? But, hey, the benefits to the planet and the health benefits.
Well, Mayor Lightfoot, she's helping draft an ordinance, Dan, to ban the appliances and new constructions, in the city. They claim that the use of natural gas is linked to childhood asthma.
Yeah, right. That's the
big scare tactic. Don't you want to save children?
Their new data point. That's their right. That same thing that Hochul is doing in New York with the natural gas hookups. Granholm, that maniac who used to be the governor of Michigan, now she's the energy secretary. There's this study that's being bandied about that 12.7% of childhood asthma cases are attributable to gas stoves. Right. So there you go. What are you, a proponent of asthma in children? Well, if you're not a proponent of asthma in children, then you better get on board and ban those gas stoves,
Yeah,
right?
nitrogen dioxide not only causing children to have asthma, but other respiratory and cardiovascular issues. And I just don't believe the government anymore after that COVID debacle that we just went through and pretty much are still going through right now.
And if you don't believe us on the childhood asthma piece, I'll tell you what, we'll sweeten the pot.
What do you got?
The Green New Deal 2.0,
Mhm.
backdoor Green New Deal. Get an $840 rebate to buy an electric stove plus $500 to convert from gas. So, and then you can just tell everybody it wasn't for the money. It was because I'm trying to do my part to prevent asthma in children. Everybody feels good, right? But isn't there something, by the way, just sort of like the same conversation with the Impossible Burger versus the actual proper burger?
Mhm.
Isn't there something, I don't know because, I don't cook. There's something, though, in terms of like the quality of cooking on an electric stove versus a gas stove?
Peyton, who's our, the chef of the house, will not cook on an electric stove. My mom used to have one in Tucson, and now she got a gas stove, thank God, 2 years ago before all this stuff started, because it's impossible. You burn a lot of stuff, I can just tell you that much. Where I watch other people burn things, they cook on an electric stove.
But
and then you don't even know when it's off, and you lean into it, and you can burn yourself. It's just
that's the quality of the cooking.
Yes.
So
but you can't regulate it as well as you can with a gas stove.
So then you lose something on the taste unless you're particularly, talented.
Mm-hmm.
Frank, Arlington Heights, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, on just your last point there, some of the restaurateurs were really complaining about, how they wouldn't be able to use electric stoves to be able to cook the stuff that they cook at restaurants. I mean, you basically destroy restaurants. But the larger point I wanted to make was that in economics, the definition I use of economics is that it's the study of how society attempts to meet its unlimited needs and wants with limited or scarce resources. And that's a pretty good definition. And with, this Impossible Burger and electric vehicles, the WEF, they basically eliminated the idea of wants or even you deciding what your needs are. It's basically now, in their economy, they decide what your needs are, and that's all you'll get. That's what these leftists want. That's what they believe in. The elimination of wants and your own feeling of what your needs are. They'll decide. Totalitarianism, completely. That's what it is.
Thanks for the call, Frank. Scooter, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. I'm thinking that if you're going to use the gas stove, wear the mask. It'll protect you. It'll be good for you. Wear the mask when you use the gas stove.
There you go. Then you prevent
we
childhood
gotta
asthma, and you can have your Impossible Burger and your Beyond Meat Burger too. Yeah.
Exactly, and we got to put some of those illegals on the balloons and send them to China. Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks for the call, Scooter. Then they'll slowly, the last piece of it, building off what Frank was saying, the last piece of it is when they sort of do the soft approach of administrative rulemaking.
Mm-hmm.
How about we give you some cash incentives to ease the transition? Then they just start to criminalize it. So then comes the penalty if you're a laggard in said conversion, right? First it's the carrot of sorts, and then it's the stick. Reason.com has come up with a good series, the fertile libertarian minds over at Reasons. It's kind of a funny puppet series, and they're doing, and it's a crime series. It's called Crime Squad, and they just do like quick little vignettes where they have two puppets play out a transaction, and then the police come in because you've violated the law. Take a listen, because it's sort of in keeping with what we're talking about the slow, not so slow burn of banning gas stoves.
Double Gloucester? Nope. Dorset Blue Vinny? No. Brie, Roquefort, Savoyard? Not today, sir, no. Limburger? I do have Limburger. Ah, excellent. I'll have that then. It's a bit runny. Oh, I like it runny. It's actually very runny, sir. No matter. It may be runnier than you like. I don't care how f***ing runny it is. Hand it over with all speed. All right, fine. Get him.
It's a federal crime to sell overly moist Limburger cheese.
Got him. I see you cockroaches. You want to play games? Okay, I'll play with you. You want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
It's a federal crime to sell egg spaghetti that's less than 0.06 inches in diameter.
Got him. Yeah.
So I gave her all the cash I had, and I co-signed her car loan. It's getting serious, man. Like, she's gonna stop dancing soon too. Like, she's just doing that to get through med school. Trust me, I believe her. And I know her husband's still technically in the picture, but that's just because of the kids. I think it's all really gonna work out. Just don't say anything, okay?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Get him.
It's a federal crime to not report a train wreck.
Got him.
I think the federal crime is a different kind of train wreck,
Yeah.
but you appreciate the use of metaphor there. Federal crimes. This is the 3 felonies a day, Harvey Silvergate. This is all a version of the same thing we're talking about with the administrative state, the fourth branch of government, never conceived by our founders.
Remember when we used to have a choice, though? If you want an electric stove or a gas stove, then that's out the window now.
Yeah, I remember that 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Frankie in Lake County on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Dan, Amy, love your show. Suggestion. So, they want to ban these stoves. What about putting, requiring ventilation systems, and then you could keep your gas stove? Are they worried about the asthma? Because that will take care of it. It'll take the fumes out. Or is it, that's how we find out that they're, full of it? Because, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Frank. I mean, I guess they figure that look, the person that wants to add that much expense to their choice of ovens, then I suppose they'll make accommodations for now. If you want to pay significantly higher prices and have to install ventilation systems and so forth, but the majority of people, the average American, will comply and or be encouraged to comply with the rebates, and that's how they'll move this thing along. Todd downtown. Hey, Todd.
Todd, are you there?
Hi, this is Todd. Yep. Dan and Amy, I wanted to tell you about people getting these electric stoves. I'm getting a lot of calls for them. I'm a service technician in Chicago. More than half of the people's electric can't even handle putting these stoves in. I had actually a client call me and actually bought a stove and had the gas stove removed, called me to put in the electric stove, and only for me to tell him he couldn't do it because his electric was at the front of the unit and his stove was at the back. And he was in a condominium, which the electric is figured for how many amps can be used in a unit, and if everybody got electric stoves, there's no way the electricity grid could handle it in that building. When a building is built, the electricity is figured for how many amps is going to be used. With these electric stoves, it increases the usage and just sometimes cannot be done.
Well,
So
that's a really interesting, pragmatic, real-world problem. But that is an easy solution there. Just everybody gets, $15,000, $20,000 special assessment to rewire the building to increase the load capacity, right, Todd?
No, actually, sometimes it just can't be done because they have to increase everything, the transformer size and everything. And
so
it is just a
just knock down the
unrealistic thing.
Just knock down the building and rebuild it to code, or to right,
Yep.
exactly. Thanks for the call. It's a little problem there for condo owners. Oh, that's interesting. Good perspective from a professional, the sort of person you don't have in government. Joe in Glen Ellen.
Yeah, Dan, I mean, half the week I'm running to Chipotle to get my kids food. I mean, we hardly cook in the first place. I mean, no one's brought up the point that you would have to be cooking like all day for that to even be an issue.
Oh, the childhood asthma thing?
Yes, another.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're cooking in your kitchen all day. You're cooking very minimal time every day in your kitchen.
Yeah, and
Unless your
kid,
mom cooking all day.
Right, and I assume your kid is not like stationed under the oven hood, the vent there, right? I assume that's not the case.
But who conducted the study?
That's what they call it.
Don't trust
They
it.
just make, of course,
They
just make up stuff. We need to have something we're fighting. We need to be wearing the white hats, and where this is about safety and it's about health and saving lives. I mean, it just
Dan, it's
repeats
about the
itself.
children. Remember?
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Can't go wrong.
Mark, Southwest Side.
Hey, how's it going? I had a question about the conversion. They said that there would be possible cash incentives. I've had an electric stove now for 21 years. In fact, I upgraded to another electric stove. Would I qualify then for reparations for having had it this whole time?
Yes, yes, exactly. And the college loans you paid will be forgiven too.
Yes.
Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
We all want to eat healthy, but have you ever read the ingredients list off of your favorite snack? Between the hard-to-pronounce ingredients and man-made additives, it's difficult to find anything made from real, natural ingredients. Even some of my favorite organic snacks have ingredients I haven't heard of. At Balance of Nature, we know the value of real nutrition that can only be found in real food. That's why the only things you'll find on our ingredients list are real whole fruits and vegetables. No additives, fillers, or artificial ingredients of any kind. Balance of Nature is the best whole fruit and vegetable product on the market, delivering your body everything it needs to function at its very best. Eat better and feel better. Start your journey to better health. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get free shipping. And don't forget to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. At Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, they've helped families set their legacies in stone for over 180 years. With interest-free financing and low monthly payments, now is the time to set your final wishes in place. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 today to schedule a free consultation.
AM 560, The Answer.
Text from 630 on the whole stove issue. I just burn my used lithium batteries to cook with because I recycle. Yeah, that's very good. It's very conscientious. Like that.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano, Heritage Foundation, joins us. It's not just the Chi-Com's Luft balloon that represents a U.S. intelligence failure. There are many others. We'll go through them, 7:07.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
A man armed with knives shot by police in Aurora. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
They're recovering what they can off the coast of South Carolina. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, where that Chinese spy balloon was shot down Saturday after trekking across America. Republicans say President Biden took way too long. Senator Steve Daines tells Fox they could have shot it down without risking lives when it was first spotted over his state, Montana.
The biggest risk would have been hitting a cow, a prairie dog, or an antelope.
It entered the United States through Idaho on the 31st and was spotted across several states, including near a handful of military bases before it was finally shot down.
Fox's Brooke Singman also reports a senior Biden administration official tells her other balloons briefly crossed into the U.S. in the Trump era at least 3 times.
They went undetected. The official tells me that the information on those spy balloons was, quote, discovered after the Trump administration. But Trump administration officials claim that never happened and are criticizing the Biden administration for spreading what they are calling disinformation.
It's a nightmare of a day in Turkey and Syria. Rocked by the most powerful earthquake to hit there in decades, a magnitude 7.8 followed by an aftershock nearly as strong. At least 1,500 people are dead, thousands more injured. That's the sound of a building collapsing. Hundreds more came down when the quake hit at 4 a.m. Crews are searching the rubble for survivors, and we're also just learning a small earthquake was felt in Buffalo, New York, that area, a 3.8 magnitude. There's fear a rail car that's been burning since a Friday train derailment in Ohio could explode. People within a mile of that in East Palestine have been ordered to evacuate. A historic night at the Grammys on CBS.
I'd like to thank my parents, my father, my mother.
That's Beyonce.
For loving me and pushing me.
After winning 4 more awards, giving her 32 lifetime Grammys, more than anyone ever. America's listening to Fox News.
23 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. One person is dead, 4 others injured following a police investigation and an officer-involved shooting in Aurora. Authorities say the officers were called out yesterday to a home in the 900 block of Colorado Avenue on report of a person armed with multiple knives and making threats towards people at the scene. Officers located that person, who charged at officers armed with knives. Only then did officers shoot the man, leaving him hospitalized in critical condition. Another temporary restraining order against Illinois' gun and magazine ban, authored by Governor J.B. Pritzker, could be coming soon. AM 560's Greg Bishop is in Springfield this morning.
The question is whether a Macon County judge will issue a restraining order that covers named plaintiffs or the whole state. During a hearing Friday afternoon, attorney Jerry Stocks argued there's a patchwork of confusion.
Already in the state of Illinois, over 75% of the sheriffs say that they won't enforce it. We have county courts saying that they find it unconstitutional. We have a 5th District Appellate Court opinion declaring it unconstitutional on equal protection grounds. We have chaos.
Representing the state as defendants, attorney Darren Kincaid acknowledged that an appellate court already upholding a temporary restraining order against enforcement bears on the Macon County Court, but he argued against expanding the order statewide.
As to the authority for you to do it, it simply doesn't exist.
I'm Greg Bishop.
A trial date is set for an East Chicago teacher accused of having a kill list. A judge set September 11th for a trial date for Angelica Carrasquillo, who was charged with intimidation. Carrasquillo admitted to school officials she had a kill list. Chicago sports. Northwestern's Wildcats, a 54-52 Big Ten hoops win over Wisconsin at Kohl's Center. It's a sweep for the Badgers this year for Northwestern. In other college hoops action, DePaul lost to Seton Hall 69-64. The Bulls beat Portland 129-121 Saturday and host San Antonio tonight. The News, a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk thinks there's a reason for everything.
If we were disgusted with this 4th branch of government, what they did against Donald Trump, we also should be alarmed that they're going to keep on doing this to presidents that they do not like. Now, why are they doing this to Joe Biden? I think that they were worried that Joe Biden's popularity and electability puts the regime in jeopardy. They want to control the line of succession. It's that simple.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you growing your manufacturing team this year and need new employees? Turn to Monarch Technical Services. They've been leading the Chicago staffing industry for manufacturing and engineering since 1987. You'll appreciate their vetting process. They meet every candidate in person to interview and test for specific skills. Monarch assesses experience by using blueprint, shop math, part measurement, and CNC program exams. Their quality skills assessor was once a plant manager who worked on manufacturing equipment, so he recognizes who has the skills to fit each job requirement. Monarch Technical now offers a 30-day free trial with any day one direct hire. This allows you to make sure direct hire employees are fitting in before fees are paid. And they have a unique payment option which allows the finder's fee to be paid in 6 equal monthly payments. So if you're growing your manufacturing team this year and searching for exceptional talent, contact Monarch Technical Services at 847-342-1221. That's 847-342-1221, or online at monarchtechnical.com. That's monarchtechnical.com.
How far will the left go to win 2024? Will they send out more stimulus checks, pass more student loan bailouts, or give away trillions more to left-wing groups? The simple truth is they don't care if your retirement is eroded down to a fraction of its value. They just want to win. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. I want to encourage you to diversify your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into a physical gold IRA. And the only company I recommend for gold IRAs is conservative-owned Birch Gold Group. To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get their free info kit on gold IRAs. Do this now before Democrats have a chance to legislate away your life savings. Get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting PROTECT to the number 989898. There's nothing to buy and no obligation at all. So use your agency. Take action now. Text the word PROTECT to the number 989898.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Well, I drive a truck for a living. I don't get hardly any exercise. I'm not kidding you now. I'm not easily sold on anything, but I'm a firm believer in this product. You know, I watched those advertisements for 2 or 3 years and listened to the radio going down the road, and I said, something's got to be going on with that product for that many people to do ads for them. And I'll tell you what, I just uptown a while ago, I told some of my buddies, I said, I'm not BSing you, man. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. It totally amazes me.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this look at the roads is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Inbound Edens, 19 minutes. Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound, 36. O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. Kennedy outbound, 26 minutes. Outbound between 26 minutes to O'Hare. Delays central to Harlem Avenue on the outbound side. Stevenson in, 42 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. I-57 and the Bishop Ford both jamming into the Ryan Merge. Tri-State jammed up. Typical morning jam. Northbound on 294 right at I-88. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Times of clouds and sun today, the high at 42. Cloudy and breezy, couple of brief showers late evening tonight, low 37. Breezy day tomorrow, clouds will give way to some sun. High tomorrow afternoon at 41. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
23 at O'Hare, 27 Lakefront, 25 Midway. Next news, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Some are questioning why the big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, waited so long to order the Chi-Com red balloon to be blown out of the sky. But the big guy said over the weekend, hey, look, I made the call. I made the call Wednesday. Then it was just a matter of waiting for the opportune moment.
Briefed on the balloon. I ordered the Pentagon to shoot it down on Wednesday as soon as possible. They decided, without doing damage to anyone on the ground, they decided that the best time to do that was as it got over water outside within the 12-mile limit. They successfully took it down. and I want to compliment our aviators who did it, and we'll have more to report on this a little later. Thank you.
Mr. President, what did you say about China? What's your message to China?
You were saying the recommendation was from your national security.
I told them to shoot it down.
On Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
But the recommendation.
They said to me, let's wait till the safest place to do it.
Mm-hmm. And the question of whether this was just an accident, that this spy balloon just somehow drifted off course like the SS Minnow in Gilligan's Island. Right. Richard Haass, deep thinker from the Council on Foreign Relations, was on with that yapping little terrier, Chuck Todd. And he's not so sure because it's just so inconsistent with what we've seen from the Chi-Coms diplomatically.
Let's talk about the context. China has been on a decided charm offensive for several months. They've clearly wanted to lower the temperature, improve U.S. The idea that they would use this balloon intentionally to be a provocation on the eve of this trip, possible, but it's so inconsistent with everything that is going on of late. If I were the Chinese thinking of provocations, I would think something in Taiwan would be a much more obvious place to do it. This doesn't seem to me at all obvious. Indeed, I would raise fundamental questions of two things. What was the intentionality here?
Yeah.
Was it to fly this balloon at this altitude at this time? And then the decision making. All I'll say is it does not fit into the larger pattern of Chinese diplomacy of the last few months. It's a rare area, shall we say, of bipartisan consensus. You'd be hard-pressed to see fundamental differences between the Trump foreign policy toward China and the Biden administration towards China. But again, China several months ago, after, given the COVID problems, after the 20th Party Congress, they have done a number of things, sent a number of messages to lower the temperature in U.S.-Chinese relationship. They wanted it as if they wanted to put off any crisis or confrontation, I think, for several years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, isn't he cute? Richard Haass. He's just darling. I remember being that age. Well, I don't actually because he's much older than I am. But I remember being perhaps that naive. No, actually, I don't because I believe people when they show you who they are. It's possible, just possible. This wasn't asked because it's too obvious a follow-up. Is it possible, just possible, that the charm offensive is fraudulent? Congressman Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin, who has been tapped to head the China Select Committee on Maria Bartiromo yesterday.
Well, letting a Chinese surveillance balloon lazily drift over America is like seeing a robber on your front porch and inviting him in, showing him where you keep your safe, where you keep your guns, where your children sleep at night, and then politely asking him to leave. It makes no sense. It makes us look weak and flat-footed on the world stage. Furthermore, if these Bloomberg reports are true, that the Biden administration deliberately tried to keep the American people in the dark so as to salvage Secretary Blinken's trip to Beijing, that's unacceptable. Allowing this to happen in order to preserve a photo op with Xi Jinping, who's committing genocide, that's foreign policy malpractice. And let's assume that the balloon was mostly harmless or we neutralized it. Do we think that the timing was coincidental? It's far more likely that they deliberately timed this in order to send a message as Blinken was preparing for his trip. And the message is, look what we can do to you and get away with. Your corporations, your career politicians, they will come crawling back. And so the message I have for the Biden administration is don't fall for the Chinese Communist Party charm offensive. It's a farce. It's a bedtime story they tell out-of-touch global elites at Davos. It's time to push back before it's too late, before something far more dangerous than a balloon is flying over American territory.
So cynical, Mike Gallagher, about our friends, the Chinese communists. For more on this, please be joined by Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano, Vice President of the Catherine and Shelby Cullom Davis Institute for International Studies at the Heritage Foundation, author of Brutal War, Jungle Fighting in Papua New Guinea, 1942. Jim, Richard Haass is confused. Is Mike Gallagher helping us clear up that confusion?
I kind of feel like we're shooting at clay pigeons here. Look, first of all, if this had inadvertently drifted over America and the Chinese knew that the Secretary of State was coming and they really wanted to lower the temperature, why wouldn't they jump on the air and say, hey, Americans, we've inadvertently sent this balloon over there. Here it is. We're really sorry about that. They didn't do that. Why did they lie about it in the most egregious and obviously, explain that you can prove this is a falsehood, claiming that it's a weather balloon. First of all, when it flies over military targets and when you can monitor the transmissions from the balloon, and if they're encoded, which they must be, nobody encodes weather data. So it's not, he's completely wrong. It's not consistent with the charm offensive. It's true that the Chinese have been on a charm offensive, but we know that charm offensive is feckless. We know it's not sincere. They're continuing to fund and support the Russian war against Ukraine. The charm offensive is mostly aimed at the global South to actually make them anti-American. So Haas's notion that somehow they're lowering the temperature here is ridiculous. Now, what they are trying to do is this administration wants a nice, comfortable China, and they want to play it the U.S. for that. And so, actually, when Blinken's coming and they're actually sending a balloon over, and we're trying to hide the fact from the American people, it makes this look really, really bad.
Well, the balloon was flying.
And it does look like they were trying to. It does look like they were trying to hide this from Americans because they wanted the trip to come off, and then to cancel the trip, not just after they made the announcement, but after the giant blowback. Because only after the blowback happened, that all of a sudden they decided, we're outraged by this. They wanted the trip to go through, and they wanted to hide the balloon. That is the one set of data that we have that cannot be disputed.
So China's response, they're expressing strong dissatisfaction and protest over the use of force by the United States. How much is this going to strain the U.S.-China relationship going forward?
Well, this is the nonsense here. First of all, that comment, by the way, is not aimed at us because we know it's stupid and laughable. It's aimed at the countries that they want to be anti-American, to give them a reason to be anti-American. So it just shows, and this notion that somehow that we can fix this relationship, that this is a couple that just needs therapy. This is nonsense. This is an aggressive adversarial power that's doing exactly what it wants. And this notion is, how do we get the relationship back on course? That's like having dinner with Hannibal Lecter and saying, how do we agree on the menu? This is not going to happen.
Well, Anthony Blinken, in announcing his decision to postpone his trip because, the conditions are just not ripe for the very constructive dialogue that would happen. He had this to say. So he's much more sanguine about the prospects to get along with the Chi-Coms, particularly, with John Kerry, the climate czar, trying to get them on board for all of our emissions goals. Here's Blinken.
We concluded that conditions were not conducive for a constructive visit at this time. In my call today with Director Wang Yi, I made clear that the presence of this surveillance balloon in U.S. airspace is a clear violation of U.S. sovereignty and international law, that it's an irresponsible act, and that the PRC's decision to take this action on the eve of my planned visit is detrimental to the substantive discussions that we were prepared to have. I told Director Wang that the United States remains committed to diplomatic engagement with China and that I plan to visit Beijing when conditions allow.
Boy, the Politburo there in Beijing must have been wetting themselves after those comments by Blinken, huh?
This is the funny part of the whole thing. It's like, the tragedy here. We could not get Blinken to Beijing. This guy's like 0-3 with the Chinese there. Every time he goes, they mop the floor with him. It's somehow like, oh my God, isn't this terrible that we couldn't send Blinken to Beijing? Isn't this bad that we couldn't have Pee Wee Herman fight Muhammad Ali? I mean, come on.
But when conditions are ripe for a constructive engagement, Anthony Blinken will be there, Jim.
The conditions will be right when the government in Beijing collapses and they're all lined up against the wall and shot by the Chinese people.
No, there you go. That's the kind of rhetoric that we need from a Secretary of State. You should put your resume in. All right, so Jim, you wrote a piece for Fox News that suggested that the Luft balloon there over Big Sky Country before it met its demise over Gulf Country in Myrtle Beach there. This is not the only seismic intelligence failure of the Biden administration vis-a-vis the Chinese communists. Some other ones that come to mind.
Well, I'll just mention one because it's a long list, and that is, anytime there's a potential compromise of U.S. intelligence, there's an assessment done by the intel community. And so it's pointing out, like Hunter's laptop, which even Hunter says is Hunter's laptop, that there's got to be widespread concerns about intelligence compromise and assessment of what that might mean. Where is it? So that means one of two things. Either the intelligence community didn't do one, which would be completely irresponsible, or they did it and we're not seeing it. And so the point is, the balloon thing is just a consistent pattern from this administration where we're not seeing timely critical intelligence on China. And I'm not asking, tell us secrets, but the fundamental judgments on what the Chinese are doing. And so one or two things are going on here. Either the intelligence community is not collecting good intelligence on China, which is scary enough, or we're playing politics with this. And we're consciously suppressing critical information about China because it's not politically convenient to the administration, or because it's interfering with their ability for John Kerry to fly over and have tea in Beijing.
We're seeing reports of a second Chinese spy balloon that's flying over South America. I know what you should do if it enters American airspace, but what should we do vis-a-vis our allies, in quotation marks, in South America and the Chinese spying there?
See, this to me is the big question. Why are they doing this? The Chinese have very exquisite low Earth orbit satellite intelligence, give you exactly the same thing. So why balloons? Now, you could maybe convince me that, look, nobody has 100% global coverage and you want some intel, so I could see sending the balloon into maybe places in Latin America that you don't have satellite coverage. I don't know. But obviously they have satellite coverage over U.S. military targets. So why are they sending the balloons over here? So what's going on here?
Well,
I mean, what are the Chinese up to? I mean, what niche capability or need do they have for these balloon things? And that I don't understand. And to me, that's the real serious question. Because the only thing I agree with Richard Hoffman, and you should note this because I'll probably never say that again, is the Chinese do things with intentionality. So what are their intentions in this balloon intelligence collection?
Well,
and I think that's a really good question.
Well, they flew over several military bases. If you look at its track, I mean, was that planned? I mean, the surveillance balloon was the size of 3 school buses, solar powered, and had this metal fin to maneuver the balloon. So did they gain any information by flying over those military bases?
Well, to me, this is a good question. See, one of the things is that we do know, we know the Earth rotates. So we know when the satellites are going to be overhead. And anybody who's seen any Tom Clancy movie knows that, people know when these satellites are coming overhead and they shut down everything they don't want the satellites to see. So did they think they were going to sneak a balloon over and see things that the satellites couldn't see? Did they logically think they could get a balloon over here and nobody would notice? So I really don't know the answers to these questions. And to me, they're the real critical questions, which is why are the Chinese doing this? The problem is, and this is the thing you've hit on in the show, the problem is this administration is much more concerned with talking to the Chinese so John Kerry can ask them to stop building coal plants than they are about dealing with the threats to the American people.
So is it what sort of what Mike Gallagher intimated with this? This is a show of force, a soft show, but a show of force nonetheless by the Chinese communists to the rest of the world to essentially say that America is in decline. They can't even protect themselves. Their response to us is tepid. We can make these provocative overtures and they do nothing. They're milling about. They're as you said, feckless in terms of response. Is that the point, perhaps?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we have enough data to say that yet. But here's what I will predict is that Mike Gallagher is going to be Joe Biden and Beijing's worst day ever. That the more work that his oversight committee does and the more things they expose to the public, the more this notion of we can all just get along is going to become unbelievably unsustainable.
When I saw this balloon flying overhead, I kept thinking of what that Air Force general said, that we'd be with war in China in 2025 or by 2025.
Well, yeah, I do think that was a really bad story and kind of completely overblown. I mean, he wasn't making a prediction. I mean, if you listen to his remarks, I think it's pretty clear. What he's trying to say is we should be serious about dealing with the Chinese. And the thing so where would we be today? What kind of message would we be sending China today if we had implemented Joe Biden's last two defense budgets, both of which would have actually meant a real decline in U.S. military capability and power? That's what the Chinese pay attention to. I say this: the Chinese pay attention to what we do, not what we say. Biden wants them to listen to what we say and pay no attention to what we do. This is not a marriage that's going to end well.
He is Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano of the Heritage Foundation. Jim, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our Turnkey.Pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Folks, when shopping for a home mortgage, how much is great service, low closing costs, and competitive interest rates worth to you? At Townstone Financial, it's priceless. Hi, Barry Sterner, founder of Townstone Financial. Let's hear about the Townstone experience from one of our customers.
This is John. I did my second home purchase with Townstone Financial. Townstone's going to give the better rate by far. They found the best rates. They found the lowest closing costs. And I know that because I had previously worked with a big bank who gave me ridiculous closing costs, high interest rates. They weren't looking out for my best interest, and Barry did his best to keep in touch with me. Couldn't have had a better experience.
Remember, nobody values your home mortgage business more than Townstone. I guarantee it, and I own the company. So call me now, Barry Sterner, at 312-896-2110. That's 312-896-2110, or go to townstone.com. That's TOWNSTONE.com.
Townstone Financial is licensed in Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida. NMLS 136639. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing lender.
Do not miss the McHenry County Lincoln Leadership Dinner coming up on this coming Saturday, February 11th at the Crystal Lake Holiday Inn. There'll be a silent auction and a Second Amendment raffle, and I'll be delivering the keynote address. I wonder what I'll say.
Yeah.
So come out and enjoy a fantastic evening with like-minded individuals. Tickets are on sale and are now available at 560theanswer.com/Lincoln. That's 560theanswer.com/Lincoln to pick up tickets for this Saturday's McHenry County Lincoln Leadership Dinner this Saturday at the Crystal Lake Holiday Inn. Hope to see you out there.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. The Columbia Journalism Review issued a lengthy and devastating condemnation of mainstream media last week, deconstructing all of the ways in which news outlets failed in the Russia collusion hoax. It started with the Steele dossier, a document that Bob Woodward prophetically called a garbage document at the time, but established media embraced for 2 years or more. Only after the futility of Robert Mueller's probe did these outlets admit their error, and not universally. The New York Times refuses to this day to account for its failures, insisting that they got it right all along. At the same time this review came out, the media elite participated in a Cronkite Media Lab symposium to declare that objectivity has to go. Instead, the media pledged to serve their own identity, life experiences, and cultural contexts. In other words, the media plans to double down on its corrupt approach to reporting news. The CJR report notes that media credibility is at an all-time low. Expect it to get even lower with current leadership. I'm Ed Morrissey.
Democrats just want to win the next election, and they're trying to do it with ceaseless money printing. They do not care if the value of your retirement is sacrificed. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. It is critical to protect your retirement right now with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get a free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. There's nothing to buy and no obligation at all. Text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get a free info kit on gold.
At Inspired Closets Chicago, there's no place they can't transform. Life is busy, and an organized space helps calm the chaos and bring order to your family's daily grind. Inspired Closets Chicago takes care of everything from start to finish. From your free in-home design consultation to developing your 3D design through installation, Inspired Closets Chicago makes it easy so you can enjoy the process. Learn more at inspiredclosetchicago.com or visit one of their showrooms for inspiration. Proud sponsor of Food for the Poor.
AM 560, The Answer.
Nice work from the Amish texture here.
Yeah, what do you got?
Good night Chinese balloon, Chi-Com balloon instead of good night moon. Good night, Oval Room. Good night, Moon. Good night, Cows on the View. Good night, my friends on the right and the red Chinese balloon. Good night, Bears. Good night, Arlington Heights Mayor. Good night, Blinken. Good night, Xi. Good night, loser Biden. Good night, Depends. We hope this nightmare will soon end. Amish texter off the cuff. Not bad. Pretty good.
Good job. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll take your calls on our conversation with Jim Carafano about Xi's red Luft balloon, as well as pour over the Columbia Journalism Review of the DC Press Corps' performance during the Russiagate saga. Time for a more introspective DC Press Corps, says the Columbia Journalism Review, not with tongue-in-cheek, shockingly. That's at 7:37.
But now let's go straight into that newsroom. A humongous factory fire in Chicago Heights. I haven't seen something like that in years.
It's been a while.
Whew.
Massive fire burning in Chicago Heights this morning. The blaze broke out around 6:30 in a massive row of warehouses and factories at Washington Avenue and 11th Street in Chicago Heights. The massive blaze is squarely between US 30 and Joe Orr Road, just east of Halstead. Series of connected brick workshops, a scrapyard, and semi-trailer storage companies are on the site, bordered to the southeast by a residential community and to the east by a large steel bar company, Liberty Bar Products. No injuries, but you can see the smoke for miles this morning from that massive warehouse blaze burning in Chicago Heights at Washington Avenue and 11th. In other news we're following this morning, tangled wreckage of a train derailment in Ohio has authorities warning hundreds of nearby residents who declined to evacuate to do so immediately, citing concerns about a potential explosion.
About 50 cars were involved in the derailment, 20 of which contain hazardous materials. At this time, we are unaware of any injuries to the train crew, first responders, or members of the community.
It's happening near the small town of East Palestine. Turkey is reeling after a powerful 7.8 magnitude quake.
The quake was centered north of the southern Turkish city of Gaziantep, but buildings have been flattened on both sides of the nearby Syrian border. Residents rushed from their beds to escape shuddering homes. Many simply couldn't get out in time. Here, a rescue worker lies under precariously balanced concrete to speak to someone trapped in the rubble. Across the border in Syria, where millions of refugees live in already torrid conditions, medical facilities are said to be under extreme strain. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Israeli forces have killed 5 Palestinian gunmen in a raid on a West Bank refugee camp. The downing of a suspected Chinese spy balloon just off South Carolina's coast created quite a spectacle over the weekend. Former Joint Chiefs Chairman Mike Mullen says Secretary of State Antony Blinken was right to cancel his trip to China.
There's no way that he could have had a meaningful visit. And we have a host of issues that we need to address.
The balloon was struck by a missile from an F-22 fighter just off Myrtle Beach. Police are investigating an officer-involved shooting in Aurora. Police were called out yesterday to the 900 block of Colorado on reports of a person armed with multiple knives. That person made threats and rushed at police officers who only then shot the man. A 16-year-old boy is dead, shot on Chicago's west side. The teen was walking last night in the 2200 block of South Keeler when unknown males exited a vehicle and began shooting. There is no one in custody. A trial date set for an East Chicago teacher accused of having a kill list. Judge set September 11th as the trial date for Angelica Carrasquillo, charged with intimidation and other crimes. Charles Kimbrough, a Tony and Emmy-nominated actor who played that straight-laced news anchor opposite Candace Bergen on Murphy Brown, has died. He was 86. The Associated Press confirmed the death over the weekend in Culver City, California. Kimbrough played the newsman Jim Dial across the 10 seasons of the CBS show Murphy Brown from 1988 to 1998. Northwestern, a college hoops win over Wisconsin 54-52 at the Kohl Center. Also yesterday, DePaul lost to Seton Hall 69-58. 64. The news, a service of the AM 560 mobile app, where you can text the word app to 64636. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum explains the silence.
The reason why you're not going to hear much about this 6-year-old shooting his teacher in the chest is because he's black and she's white. You're not going to hear much about this because when it's a failure from minorities, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to express it. And it's interesting because God is my witness. If it was a white kid shot a black teacher, they'll still be talking about it today.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit icct.us. icct.us. The following is a paid political announcement.
Why not Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago? The criminals won't like Willie Wilson in the mayor's office. Fighting crime is Willie Wilson's first priority. The city isn't safe. The city streets, the CTA, are not safe. Willie Wilson knows that personally.
My son was murdered. I know the anger, and I know the pain.
Willie Wilson is ready to take on the criminals. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
Raj Shah, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
You know, there are a lot of clients and people coming in from the radio into our office and saying, I don't want to lose any money. I need to protect the money I have saved over the last 20 or 30 years, where you have strategies where you can structure an income stream where it has an inflation protection so that as inflation, if it continues to go up, your income will go up.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, and this update is a service of Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns. Tune in Saturdays at noon. Enjoy weekly discussions on a secure retirement here on AM 560, The Answer. Just want to keep you advised that massive fire continues to burn in Chicago Heights this morning, Washington Avenue and 111th. It's not really tying up too many roads, although there is some emergency equipment just east of the fire on Halstead. Again, it sits squarely between US 30 and Joe Orr Road. No injuries, but there's lots of equipment on the scene. Inbound Edens, 22 minutes, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound, solid between Cumberland and Montrose. 47 O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound, 52, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson inbound, 36 in from the Tri-State to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Park Ridge, an accident blocking D Road between Virginia and Bussey Highway. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast, clouds and sun, breezy by the afternoon, high 42. Currently, 23. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. 312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line. 646-36DA, Turnkey.pro text line. Your calls in reaction to our conversation with Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano about the Chi-Com's Luft balloon. In addition, I want to get to Russiagate and this Columbia Journalism Review of the Press. But before we do that, one thing we didn't get to with Jim, we discussed a little bit earlier in the show, but I want to make sure people are aware of this.
Yeah.
This, and it dovetails with sort of the Russiagate type D.C. press corps you have. This assertion that's being made, the spin that's coming out, that the Chinese spy balloon, nothing new, not unprecedented, that spy balloons came into American airspace 3 times during the Trump administration. They were not shot down, and they went undisclosed. That was some of the reporting.
Right, but the Trump administration maintains that that did not happen on their
John
watch.
Ratcliffe, the former director of national intelligence, top spy, saying,
Well, it's not true. I can refute it. Former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper refuted it yesterday. Former Secretary of State and CIA Director Mike Pompeo has refuted it. But Maria, the American people can refute it for themselves. Do you remember during the Trump administration when photographers on the ground and commercial airline pilots were talking about a spy balloon over the United States that people could look up and see even with the naked eye, and that a media that hated Donald Trump wasn't reporting? I don't remember that either because it didn't happen. As I said to you earlier, this was unprecedented. We have never had a circumstance where an adversary has had spy craft over our country, our continental United States, posing a threat for the better part of a week straight.
And former Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mike Mullen on ABC's This Week said similar.
To my knowledge, it's the first time I've seen anything come over the country like this. There's no question, and obviously you can't hide it. So this was not an accident. This was deliberate. It was intelligence. And we need to do 2 things. We need to sort out all the details of that. More importantly, we need to make sure we can get this relationship moving in the right direction.
And remember when this first happened, though? CBS News said it was spotted by passengers in a commercial plane, that it was going up. I mean, it ended up going 60,000 feet, and a passenger plane doesn't go that high. But they saw it ascending up, and that's how this whole thing started, that we found out about this.
Dave in DeKalb, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This China balloon thing was great for Biden. It gave him a chance to show that he really wants to do something about inflation.
Hey.
Very good, Dave. You brought down inflation. Very good.
Yeah.
Tom in Woodstock.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that, I was speaking with my daughter about this. She's 23, college graduate, and she kind of thought it was funny. So I think this kind of ties back to the ignorance many of our young people have based upon, what you talk about regularly with regard to the schools. They just don't understand, and they're not. They don't get a proper news source.
No.
Thanks for the
and
call,
they don't
Tom.
have appreciation for our military, I think. I mean, but that happens when you take away days like Veterans Day, so that you can change it so that on voting day, that's what Pritzker did in the state of Illinois. So there's no respect for the veterans because they're not learning about them.
Frank in Tinley Park.
Did anybody wonder if they were squirting a new virus out the back of that balloon?
See, that's what I said this
Right.
morning.
Yeah, all right.
A new variant, it would be called.
One too many
I
Get
know.
Smart episodes for you two. Yeah, thanks for the call, Frank. Kip in Stillman Valley.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, listen, the thing about the news, too, but all the spy balloon stuff, I really don't believe it at all. But I know one thing that we're not talking about is the possible the foreign investors and that with the Biden Corporation and all the things with Hunter's laptop. And we might have a foreign operative that's our president of the United States, and with Russiagate and all that. And the news media and the propaganda. Did you hear about I believe it was a emergency room doctor in California got ran over riding his bike. He lived close to the hospital.
He got stabbed to death. Yes. Right.
Stabbed to death. And then I seen the picture of the guy was a crazed lunatic and of one color, persuasion. And not a story. I believe I seen that on the local news.
What does that have to do with the Chinese spy balloon?
Well, I know, but the Chinese spy balloon, we had them here. It was a big thing a few years back. They used to fly over the United States. Isn't this one way to keep the Biden Corporation off the news possible?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Kip. I mean,
there was a
it actually draws more attention because it draws attention to the amount of Chi-Com money the Penn Biden Center received and Hunter's business dealings, not to mention the avalanche of memes that were Biden-related coming out of this and Swalwell-related, too. I like the one that was Happy Valentine's Day, Happy Valentine's Day, Eric Swalwell from Fang Fang, which I thought was nice.
And you made a meme too. Did you tweet that out, by the way?
Yeah, I tweeted it.
You made a meme. Was this your first one?
It's not as good as some of the others.
All right, I'm going to look at it on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's at Dan Proft in case you want to.
But to the point about the larger Chinese communist threat and thus the seriousness which we should take incursions like a spy balloon, Mike Gallagher, congressman we were talking about from Wisconsin, who's been tapped to be the chairman of the China Select Committee, he was on Bartiromo yesterday, and he talked a little bit more about that beyond the balloon, talking about the united front activities of the Chi-Coms.
But the bottom line is this. People don't understand the way in which the Chinese Communist Party uses something called united front work to corrupt our domestic institutions. United Front work is this combination of intelligence operations and influence operations and economic coercion that they use to buy off foreign elites and promote stories that help the Communist Party and eliminate stories that hurt the Communist Party. We need a massive strategy for countering United Front work, because it's not just Sequoia, it's not just various asset managers, it's American universities, it's other educational institutions across the board. For too long, we've let this soft form of corruption to go forward, and that's what we're going to have to tackle on the Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, Jim Comer, well, and his committee, and Jim Comer's investigation into Biden Inc. is again refreshing. $54.5 million in donations from sources in China to that Penn Biden Center.
Yep.
The $31 million that members of the Biden Inc. consortium were accrued in 5 business deals with individuals who have direct ties to the highest levels of the Chinese Communist government. So, I mean, those are legitimate questions. They would certainly be questions that would be asked by the press corps if the target was a Republican, any Republican. And they're not being asked about the Bidens, and they should be. And I think between Jim Comer, Mike Gallagher, and Jim Jordan, they're going to be. Greg LaGrange.
Hi, good morning, guys. The whole thing is the violation of our airspace. That's one of the most important things that we have. President Biden is consistent is that he does not protect our borders or our airspace. That's the issue. I don't care if it's a weather balloon. I don't care if it was a parade balloon. The fact that it violated our airspace is tragic enough. So I just find this whole thing that needs to be investigated. And like you said, Dan, it's not it's obvious to everybody that even a sentient human being, there's money tied up with that family and the Chinese that go way back, for the Penn Center, to Hunter Biden, to all of it. And that's the problem. And that's what the press should be pounding on, but the press is in the tank for we know what reasons. And I'm glad that the Republicans are finally going to start asking questions. I just want to see it go somewhere this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Owen in Willowbrook.
Hey, the Bidens have a habit of leaving things around. So maybe the Chinese were just returning some classified documents that Hunter and Joe left over there.
Could be. Yeah. Thanks for the call. Maybe he left another laptop at a repair shop in Beijing and trying to get it back to him. Possible. Jason and Berwyn.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. Thanks for taking my call. I don't understand why nobody's asking the question why this could have been done with Biden's permission. Like, the China says, okay, we want to fly a balloon. He says, okay, nobody will notice. The people are too stupid. And so they just let it in. And when they get called out, they don't shoot it down until it's collected everything that it needed over the silos, over Scott Air Force Base, whatever.
Thanks for the call, Jason. I mean, right. Anything under the sun is possible, but there's no evidence to support anything of the sort. And they won't notice. Well, the Pentagon's going to notice, and not everybody there is in the tank for this clown show in the White House. So, yeah, I assume that's not the case. There's no evidence to support that would be the case. And the response was the response. Now, whether or not they tried to, as Jim Carafano pointed out, whether or not they tried to ignore its existence once they learned of its existence because they didn't want the Blinken trip to be postponed, well, that's a different story. And that's sort of the same thing now, sort of classified info redux when it comes to Biden Inc.
And we got some text messages. Dan and Amy, I think the whole point of the balloon was to show the world that China could invade our airspace whenever they want, and we'll do nothing.
Yeah, well, that's what I was sort of getting to with Carafano, is it a bit of a show of force? Is it a bit of a showing up America to the rest of the world?
But another one, the balloon was the Trojan horse test.
The Trojan,
Yep.
Right, yes, right.
Yeah.
Going to be a bunch of, next time it'll be a bunch of Chinese communist ground troops parachuting in from the balloon, Red Dawn style.
Yeah.
Probably not. That's probably not how it goes down. Speaking of the press corps here, the lack of inquisitiveness, I did want to just mention this Columbia Journalism review of the D.C. press corps' handling of Russiagate, this extensive report that they put out last week that, essentially tells you a lot of what's already been reported and characterized as it pertains to Trump, but much less so any sort of accounting, particularly by a reputedly respected outfit like the Columbia Journalism Review when it comes to the press corps' conduct. We've talked about it. They've been very silent about it. And so this is a way for them to present like there is a watchdog within their ranks and being chastised and having the backs of their hands slapped means that the press is accountable to someone. And this call for introspection as a result of all the false reporting that was done. Very interesting and very self-serving in a sense, even though there's criticism there. Jeff Gerth, a former New York Times reporter, writing, quote, "The end of the long inquiry into whether Donald Trump was colluding with Russia came in July 2019 when Robert Mueller, the special counsel, took 7 sometimes painful hours to essentially say no. But outside the Times' own bubble, the damage to the credibility of the Times and its peers persists 3 years on, and is likely to take on new energy as the nation faces yet another election season animated by antagonism toward the press. At its root was an undeclared war between an entrenched media and a new kind of disruptive presidency with its own hyperbolic version of the truth." It is a long read, but ultimately it documents the D.C. press corps destroying its credibility. It didn't deserve the credibility it had going into the 2016 election, but it destroyed it largely within a supermajority of Americans after their performance in 2016 and subsequently, specifically with the Russiagate story. And they should have no credibility. And by the way, this is just a outside review. I haven't heard much in the way of mea culpas from the same press corps any more than we're going to get mea culpas from these same individuals as it pertains to COVID reporting while they're calling for COVID amnesty. That's just how they do it. They create a mess and then they scurry away pretending nothing has occurred. But there is an addition on the Russiagate reporting piece that should be noted, and this comes to us from Matt Taibbi per Elon Musk and the ongoing disclosure of information that was compiled by Twitter. One of the sources that the press used to justify their coverage was this Hamilton 68 Russian bot identifier, this tool that was created, identify Russian bots and so on and so forth. And look, there was a lot of reporting that relied on Hamilton 68 and this guy Clint Watts, who was the main spokesman for Hamilton 68, when it came to substantiating claims and creating sort of this nefarious aura around President Trump. Just take a listen to the mashup of the number of outlets and individuals leaning on Hamilton 68.
We work with the Hamilton 68 Project to really understand the foreign influence online.
Hamilton 68 falsely accused legitimate American accounts of being Russian bots.
Hamilton 68, we track Russian bot armies.
Hamilton 68 are tracking this the most.
Hamilton 68 will tell you what the Russian associated accounts were doing.
Hamilton 68.
Hamilton 68.
Hamilton 68.
Hamilton 68 looks at Russian accounts.
There's a wonderful website called Hamilton 68 that tracks known Russian bots.
Look at Hamilton 68. I encourage you to look at that.
The Hamilton 68 research.
Really interesting website. Students will really enjoy.
Hamilton 68 has just been such an amazing resource.
Hamilton 68 knows they're Russian bots.
Hamilton 68 dashboard if you want to track their covert accounts.
We need more fact-checking like Hamilton 68. Hamilton 68.
Hamilton 68. They track Russian associated troll farms.
There is no evidence to support their statements.
In fact, Matt Taibbi, in his piece at his new outlet, The Racket, the story eventually published, Move Over Jason Blair, Meet Hamilton 68, the new king of media fraud, was based on email assessments of Twitter executives like Yoel Roth and Nick Pickles, the forensic analysis Roth had done in 2017, and which was excerpted in the release of this installment of the Twitter files. These elements made for a pretty ironclad case that the much ballyhooed Hamilton 68 dashboard was a sham that took real opinions of real people and falsely declared them to be part of a network of Russian influence activities. That's the top line. You can dig into it. We don't have the time to do it this hour. But this is important because not only was it a sham, as Matt Taibbi reports and details and provides the evidence in detail, but it was a sham that involves smearing other Americans as Russian bot accounts. And this is another case study in how the D.C. Press Corps behaved for much of the last 6 years, and in various ways with different targets and different sacred cows continues to behave. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-419-2387. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-419-2387. 800-419-2387. 800-419-2387.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer. News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com. On the AM 560 mobile app. Tune in, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
They keep finding more bodies. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and the earthquake rubble in Turkey and across the border in Syria. As crews search for anyone still trapped alive, the 7.8 magnitude quake hit as people slept at 4 a.m. At least 1,900 are dead, more than 9,000 injured.
This is the moment a 7-story building collapsed in the Turkish district of Haliliye. Southern Turkey and northern Syria are worst affected. Rescue workers are searching through giant piles of concrete and tangled metal. The quake struck a region packed with refugees displaced by Syria's civil war.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. People were also shaken awake in the Buffalo, New York area this morning. A smaller 3.8 magnitude quake lasted a few seconds, was felt over a 30-mile radius, but so far no significant damage reported. They're waiting for something bad to happen in Ohio, about 50 miles away from Pittsburgh.
People
People who live within a mile of a train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, are being told to evacuate as local officials are worried that one of the cars could explode. The derailment happened late Friday, and fires from it continued to burn through the weekend. A local high school gym has been turned into a shelter, and the Red Cross is helping those who have been displaced.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers says Navy divers keep recovering pieces of that Chinese spy balloon shot down off the South Carolina coast Saturday. China's warning of repercussions, saying the U.S. overreacted. Republicans say President Biden waited too long after the balloon went over a handful of military bases. Congressman Brian Mast tells Fox
it takes clearer images than what you're going to get out of a satellite spy capability. That's why that matters. That's why it matters for it to be going over the bulk of the United States of America.
Biden administration officials claim several Chinese balloons briefly flew over the U.S. in the Trump era, but weren't detected till after that administration was out of office, which ex-Trump officials call disinformation. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunshine this morning. We have 24 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Massive fire burning in Chicago Heights this morning. Blaze broke out around 6:30 in a massive row of warehouses and factories at Washington Avenue and 11th. Now, that massive blaze is set squarely between US 30 and Joe R. Road, just east of Halstead. Series of connected brick workshops and scrapyards, along with semi-trailer storage companies, are on the site, bordered to the southeast by what looks to be a residential community, and to the east by a steel bar company, Liberty Bar Products. No injuries have been reported as of yet. Police are investigating after an officer-involved shooting at a home in Aurora. Authorities say officers were called out yesterday to a home in the 900 block, Colorado Avenue, on reports of a person armed with multiple knives. Officers located that person, who then charged at police armed with the knives. The officer then shot the man, leaving him hospitalized in critical condition. A trial date is set for an East Chicago teacher accused of having a kill list. Judge set September 11th as a trial date for Angelica Carrasquillo, who's charged with intimidation. Officers were sent to the St. Stanislaus School last fall after a student told their counselor that the fifth grade teacher had made comments about killing herself, students, and school staff. Chicago sports. It's a sweep in the Big Ten for Northwestern as they knock out the Badgers at Kohl Center in Wisconsin, 54-52. Other college hoops action, DePaul lost to Seton Hall, 69-64. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Maria Bartiromo, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Tyson Foods shares are slumping after a disappointing earnings report. The company produces many meat and poultry brands, including Ballpark and Jimmy Dean. Chief Executive Donnie King says the company faced some challenges in the quarter, though it expects to improve its performance through the back half of this year. Tyson says it's been improving staffing levels and has been investing in automation. Dell is laying off about 5% of its employees because of weaker personal computer sales. The company says it's already paused hiring, limited employee travel, and reduced spending on outside services, though those steps are no longer enough. And Energizer Holdings, the battery company, is reporting a smaller profit and fewer sales in the recent quarter. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago. The violence in Chicago must stop. Willie Wilson pledges real action to do that. A revised police structure, 4 superintendents, more accessible to their neighborhoods, providing faster communication and concentration of resources. Willie Wilson pledges more integrated police patrols to increase community, confidence, and cooperation. Willie Wilson's pledge will make Chicago safer. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
So what's the trouble here, mister?
I don't understand what happened. I checked my stuff in Chicago, and when we landed in L.A., I came to baggage claim, and there it was, my $10,000 Canoma analyzer in pieces, completely trashed.
Just the facts, buddy. What did you have it packed in?
Well, just the box it came in, but there was all this foam and thick cardboard. It looks sturdy enough.
That's what they all think, pal, till it's too late.
What am I gonna do now? My boss is gonna kill me.
Here's some good advice for you. The next time you transport anything valuable, put it in a Star Case, leading manufacturer of custom reusable shipping cases.
So where do I get a Star Case?
Now you're getting smart, bub. You can find everything you need to know to order one direct at starcase.com or call 800-822-STAR, where a friendly, knowledgeable sales engineer will be glad to help you design the custom case you need. That's starcase.com or 800-822-7827.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold, the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
How far will the left go to win 2024? Will they send out more stimulus checks, pass more student loan bailouts, or give away trillions more to left-wing groups? The simple truth is they don't care if your retirement is eroded down to a fraction of its value. They just want to win. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. I want to encourage you to diversify your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into a physical gold IRA. And the only company I recommend for gold IRAs is conservative-owned Birch Gold Group. To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get their free info kit on gold IRAs. Do this now before Democrats have a chance to legislate away your life savings. Get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting PROTECT to the number 989898. There's nothing to buy and no obligation at all. So use your agency. Take action now. Text the word PROTECT to the number 989898.
8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And we'll start on the Veterans Memorial Toll. Big delays this morning, northbound 63rd up through the Reagan Toll. Route 53, slow traffic southbound between Palatine and Kershaw. Eden's inbound, jammed up Peterson down to Montrose. 21 Lake Cook Road on in. The Kennedy traveling inbound from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. It's jammed up Cumberland to Montrose, 42 minutes in this morning. Stevenson, heavy traffic in from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive, 42 minutes on that commute, 35 in from the Tri-State. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Times of clouds and some sun for today. Our high 42. Cloudy, breezy tonight. A couple of brief showers beginning late this evening. Low tonight at 37. Clouds and sun. A breezy day tomorrow. A high tomorrow at 41. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
24 at O'Hare. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So another officer involved shooting death, this time in L.A. County, Huntington Park, that involved the LAPD shooting and killing a man with both legs partially amputated who was fleeing officers after allegedly stabbing someone.
Yeah, his name was Anthony Lowe Jr., and his family has filed a lawsuit claiming that they use excessive force because he doesn't have feet, a double amputee, and so after the stabbing, they were trying to arrest him, and he's hobbling down the sidewalk, pulling his wheelchair for a little bit. You can see him; he does have the knife in his hand, and then he let goes of the wheelchair and is hobbling down the street. And according to police, they tasered him twice, and there was some movement where he might have lunged at an officer, and that's when the rapid fire took place.
Well, unlike with Tyree Nichols, the cell phone video that captures this has the police walking him down as he attempts to flee. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then you don't see the shooting, and so you don't exactly know what happened. And maybe that will be footage that comes out that provides that angle so that you see what ultimately happened, the resolution of this, the shooting itself. But it doesn't look good. And of course, there are people calling for calm in LA, don't riot and so on and so forth, and let the process play itself out. These officers involved in the shooting have been suspended. As you mentioned, the civil suit has been filed. Oh, boy.
Well, here's his family.
You can tell that he was in fear for his life. He had no legs. It could have been handled any other way.
If you see this video, I couldn't believe it. It's just unlike anything you will ever see, because I'm sure this is very rare that this happened. And the officers, one was black and the other two were white or Latino, because, race is going to play a part in this. But I think that was excessive force. I can't believe that they fatally shot him, and there's cop cars, so the only angle you hear the shooting is from somebody's cell phone camera, so you can't see what the suspect is doing before they unload their guns on him.
I mean, this is a serious matter. A man lost his life, but I mean, it's just so surreal. I mean, it's almost like a cartoonish caricature of what has happened to big city America. And it's like, I mean, if it wasn't so serious, it would be like a Wayans Brothers sketch. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. We'll see.
I mean, it seems like there's so many other options, and we'd love to hear from officers too, what you do in situations like this.
We don't know, because we don't know what happened. We only know a little bit of what happened. What do you do in a situation that we don't know? I don't know. What was the situation?
From the video I saw.
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Heather McDonald. She is the Thomas W. Smith Fellow at the Manhattan Institute and author of The War on Cops and the Diversity Delusion. Heather, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan and Amy.
So the Tyree Nichols police killing in Memphis, and maybe, depending on more information becoming available about this incident in Huntington Park, California, we're talking about. I mean, this is going to be the same thing that plays itself out after every single one of these that we've gone through over the last decade, where everybody sort of plays their part and there is no light that occurs. It's just heat that's exchanged, right?
Yes, and I understand the absolute outrage. I feel it too about the Tyree Nichols shooting, and it raises in the public's mind legitimate questions about whether we've just had a window into a reality of policing that is ordinarily off stage. But I can tell you that looking at the data, it is not the case that the Nichols beating death represents the primary threat to Black Americans. That is not why Black Americans are dying of, say, gun homicide between the ages of 10 and 24 at 25 times the rate of whites between the ages of 10 and 24. They're being killed by other blacks, not by the police, not by whites. And the only reason that there's the furor over the Tyree Nichols case is because he was black, If he had been white, there would not be that intense attention to this case. But over half of all people killed by fatal police shootings each year are white. But the media doesn't pay attention to them. About 25% are black. And so we should make sure that this is not a systemic problem. I don't think it is. We don't know enough about the incident yet. We don't know what happened before the videos. To what extent was Nichols possibly resisting arrest? One of the officers said that he was trying to grab his gun. That if that's the case, that changes our understanding to a certain extent.
No, but there's no video evidence to support that claim made by that officer. But yeah, if there was evidence to support that claim, I suppose. The other thing that the Tyre Nichols case points out, that the matter of the race of the police officers doesn't matter anymore. It'll be the same claim. So even though that all the police officers involved in his beating death were black, that they're still tools of white supremacy, we learned from Van Jones and other commentators.
Right. I mean, at this point, racism is an unfalsifiable proposition. It now has become anything bad that happens to a black person is racist, regardless of what who the perpetrators are, what the intention was. So that's just now the dominant narrative of our world that has consequences. As I say, I mean, this shooting is appalling. It sickens me. It seems to represent a complete breakdown of legitimate tactics, supervision. I mean, these officers did not know what they were doing. They should not have been on the force.
There was a lack of training. I mean, and do you think the Memphis police chief's going to pay with her job?
Probably, yeah. I don't know. She's black and female, so that gives her. She's got lots of intersectionality points.
Although she was bounced from the Atlanta Police Department before she got the job in Memphis, which is interesting.
Well, that's classic. You know, that is exactly what's going on now. We've had this push for diversity hiring in policing for decades, and what it has usually entailed is getting rid of criminal background checks. I'm not saying in the case of this police chief, but for the rank and file, and lowering academic skills and education requirements. And what it inevitably leads to are corruption and force problems, whether it's in Philadelphia or Los Angeles or the New York Police Department's 30th precinct in the early 1990s, the so-called Dirty 30. Miami had huge corruption problems after consent decrees mandating diversity hiring. So we should be colorblind and maintain high standards. But what we really need, and what we're not going to get, I mean, this incident is going to result in pressure for more diversity training, more cultural competence, implicit bias training. And instead, what officers are desperate for is hands-on, realistic, tactical training and training in de-escalation, how to control their stress. That is something that is extremely unrecognized in sort of public circles about policing, but they need help in managing their emotions in these what seem to be high stress situations, so that they can slow down, think more carefully, and make sure that they're following their tactical training. But as I say, even that is inadequate at this point.
You know, it's interesting. We got this when we were talking about it last week. We got an email from former Chicago Police Department officer and trainer. His name is Tom Klein. I spent 54 years with Chicago Police Department, 30 as a sworn officer, and 24 as a trainer at Chicago's Police Academy. I was canceled the last 5 years of my career because I was trying to teach officers how to think for themselves and work by a set of standards that could not be compromised. I was exiled, given to an office, given nothing to do for 5 years. For a long time, the administration has not wanted officers who can think for themselves. They want people who follow orders unquestionably, and that turns out to be a problem, because you have people that are not able to, I would just surmise, be resilient in a situation that, occurs that no one could have predicted. I mean, you're going to be thrown in situations that can't all be game planned, so you have to have sort of a set of policies, procedures, but also trained mind to read and react appropriately in the moment. And that doesn't seem to be what's happening, at least according to this one longtime CPD in Chicago, for example.
Yeah, I don't really know what he's referring to. There may be a certain amount of self-exculpation there. And again, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what it would mean to teach officers to think for themselves and why that would be a threat. But all I can say is what they do need, once they come on the force, there are these negligible continuing education and service requirements. And, you go to the range and you fire a gun a few times to qualify. But what you need, and the ideal is the NYPD, for example, the New York Police Department, has a entire village that's been created, or streetscape, where they can work on taking cover, calling for backup, making sure that you're not exposed in a situation where you feel compelled to escalate your use of force and have to make very split-second decisions about shoot, don't shoot. And, just to return to the point about the absolute negative effects of diversity hiring, the Obama administration did a voluntary study of the Philadelphia Police Department and found that Black and Hispanic officers were more likely than white officers to shoot a Black suspect thinking that a cell phone, say, or a can of Coke was a gun. That's known as threat misperception. So what will probably, even though these 5 officers were Black, you can be sure that we're going to hear that we need more diversity hiring, and that may just create a vicious cycle. We're also going to have a massive attack on proactive policing, these specialized units to try and get guns off the street, which are valid. It's a valid concept. They will now be disbanded. Car stops will be disbanded, even though the law-abiding residents of high-crime minority neighborhoods are desperate for more traffic control. I mean, one of the reasons that this unit was created was the reckless driving in Memphis. And reckless driving is highest in high-crime minority neighborhoods. The federal government has an entire program out of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration based on what it calls the nexus or lexus of crashes and crime. And so when you back off on traffic stops, you not only are putting lives at risk because people are driving like maniacs past schools and through red lights and going the wrong direction, which maybe was going on with Nichols, but you're also losing an opportunity to find people that are on, outstanding warrants for gun crimes, robberies and whatnot, that a car stop allows you to find out.
Well, right. And we just had data we talked about a bit earlier in the show out in Chicago for last year. And the arrest rates for violent crimes, sort of in total, if you categorize them, based more or less Class X felonies, was like 5%. There were only 2 crimes where they were in double digits with the percentage of arrests for crimes committed. Homicides, which was 28%, and assaults, which was like 17%. Everything else is single digits, including carjackings, of which we had about 1,800 last year. So, you understand why people don't feel safe because they're not, and then they use this vicious circle that produces the lack of safety. Police can't do those stops, can't give chase, can't do their jobs. They have no civilian backing. They're turnstile justice for the same people they're arresting and rearresting and putting on electronic monitoring, committing crimes with electronic monitoring. You just have systems that are just not serious about public safety, all the rhetoric notwithstanding.
Yes, and again, any instance of abuse, of excessive force is terrible, and we should have a higher standard for the police. They're the government, and so, we're right to be outraged when one life is unnecessarily lost by police brutality or excessive force. That is a legitimate standard to have. Yeah. But let's be realistic. The threat to the Black community is Black criminals. 10,000 blacks were killed in homicide in 2020 due to the George Floyd crime increase. That's 3,000 more than all white and Hispanic victims combined, even though blacks are only 13% of the national population, and they're being killed by other blacks. And when the police back off, as they have in Chicago, this is another iteration of the Ferguson effect, which I talked about, but now it's even worse with the George Floyd effect. When cops say, forget it, I'm not going to make those proactive stops, those discretionary investigations, to see if that guy standing on a corner looking like he's hitching up his waistband to see if he has that gun is in fact armed, I'm just going to drive on by. More black lives are lost. So this narrative that President Joe Biden perpetrates, that everyday blacks are legitimately in fear of their lives when they step outside from a cop, that is complete nonsense. In 2022, there were 7 allegedly unarmed blacks killed by the police. 7 out of probably 10,000, another 10,000 homicide victims, a population of 44 million. And allegedly, because the Washington Post defines unarmed very, very broadly, it turns out that a police officer is 400 times as likely to be killed by a black male as an unarmed black is to be killed by a police officer. So if the left always says policing is so safe, the right exaggerates how dangerous it is to make a car stop, and this is really a really safe profession. If it's safe to be a police officer, then it's 400 times safer to be an unarmed black person vis-a-vis a police officer. So the narrative is completely backwards.
She is Heather Mac Donald, Thomas W. Smith Fellow at the Manhattan Institute, author of The War on Cops, as well as The Diversity Delusion. Heather, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan and Amy.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Oil investments involve a high degree of risk and actual results may vary. Oil and natural gas keep going up as the Russia conflict escalates. Get in on the next major oil boom now and help the U.S. with your patriotic investment that can potentially pay you monthly income for up to 20 or more years. That's the sound of a producing oil well and the sound of a smart investment. If you're an SEC accredited investor and have at least $25,000 liquid now, you can take advantage of Encore Energy's projects and a huge tax savings for this year. If you invest in oil and natural gas, you're allowed to write off nearly 100% of your investment in the first year. Goldman Sachs is projecting oil to go up to $100 a barrel, and natural gas is the fuel of the future and trading at record prices. Call 800-287-6691. Encore Energy is a major investor and experienced operator in its core area of operations. Call now and learn how to deduct 100% of your investment and create 20 or more years of potential monthly income. Call 800-287-6691. That's 800-287-6691.
You're off right by finally losing the weight. Schedule your consultation with NJ Diet today. Their scientific approach will ensure you lose the fat quickly and safely. NJ Diet uses your hair and saliva samples along with their bioenergetic scans to personalize natural solutions and supplements that balance your hormones where the side effect is weight loss. You'll shed a contraction-guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days. Then NJ Diet uses DNA testing to help you keep it off. NJ Diet is all natural. No shots, no hormones, no surgery, and no prepackaged foods. Full supervision is provided every step of the way, and you even get the doctor's personal email and phone number. With locations in Skokie and Oakbrook or from anywhere with live online video consultations, lose 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days, guaranteed. Call 855-5-NJ-DIET. That's 855-5-NJ-DIET. Or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com and lose the weight for good.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur. Let's make sure your current payroll provider isn't overcharging you, shall we? First, go to your payroll provider's website to see what you're currently paying. Oh, what's that? You can't clearly see your pricing because your vendor is running a temporary sale or making you call for a free quote? That's unfortunate. If you go to PatriotSoftware.com, you will instantly see our payroll pricing for companies with 1 to 100 employees. Well, there you go. At least now you know what you should be paying for payroll. Go to patriotsoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll processing free. That's patriotsoftware.com.
With patriotsoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Oh, yeah. Hey, guys, Valentine's Day, just 8 days away, and give her the next best thing to wearing nothing at all. With soft, silky, naturally nude pajamas, available exclusively from our good friends at Pajamagram. Sexy, sultry, naturally nude feels just like her soft skin, even more alluring than lingerie. The texture.
Swalwell's going to get Fang Fang, I hear.
The texture and touch of these pajamas, Dan, are so seductive. You'll both love the feel of them. We've already had some listeners buy the naturally nude pajamas at Christmas, and they've texted me and said, "Oh yeah, thanks for the tip, Jacobson." And today, if you get your Pajamagram, your naturally nude pajamas, they're going to give you a $75 naturally nude nightie for free. Yes, ordering today gets you a free $75 nightie. And best of all, Pajamagram does the wrapping for you with free gift packaging. Listen, again, if you missed out during Christmas, don't make the same mistake twice. Give her the best naturally nude pajamas. But you need to order today because last year they sold out before Valentine's Day, 8 days away, guys. Here's what you do. Go to pajamagram.com. That's pajamagram.com to order a naturally nude pajamas, and be sure to tell them Dan and Amy sent you.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, we'll talk spending and taxes and Fed policy with a man who owns the best name in the public policy business, City Journal's Judge Glock. At 8:38, that should be a franchise. He needs to be. That's a Judge Glock.
Related to Judge Dredd, I imagine.
Yeah, it's his real name. I've asked him. Yeah.
All right, but now let's go into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Reinhold, except Glock.
Judge Reinhold, I like that. Nice get. 24 at 8:33. We've been telling you this morning about a massive fire burning in Chicago Heights, still burning. The blaze broke out around 6:30 in a massive row of warehouses and factories at Washington Avenue and 11th, squarely between US 30 and Joe Orr Road, just east of Halstead. No injuries. It's a series of interconnected brick workshops, scrapyards, and semi-trailer storage companies on the site. Debris from a Chinese spy balloon shot down over the weekend, maybe washing up near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Military officials say are trying to recover any possible debris. Senator Marco Rubio says the U.S. needs to put just as much focus on the message the Chinese sent with their surveillance balloon as the potential data collected.
We can fly a balloon over airspace of the United States of America, and they won't be able to do anything about it to stop us.
Turkey and northern Syria reeling after another powerful earthquake, this one a magnitude 7.5 following just hours after a deadly 7.8 quake that has killed at least 1,300. Governor Chris Sununu says he's definitely thinking about running for president in 2024.
At the end of the day, you're going to have a lot of Republicans that get in that race. They're all really good people. They're really good candidates.
Appearing on ABC's This Week, the New Hampshire Republican says there's a need for new leadership. One person is dead, 4 others are injured after a shooting at a rap concert in Newport, Arkansas. Officials are monitoring smoldering and tangled wreckage of a train derailment near New Palestine, Ohio. High winds and a cold snap have halted ferry service, highway traffic, and dusted the Acropolis in Athens, Greece, with snow. Police are investigating an officer-involved shooting in Aurora yesterday in the 900 block of Colorado Avenue. A 16-year-old boy is dead, shot on Chicago's west side in the 2200 block of South Keeler. A trial date set for an East Chicago, Indiana teacher accused of having a kill list. A September 11th trial date was set for Angelica Carrasquillo, who used to work at St. Stanislaus School. A fire at the historic Haley Mansion in Joliet caused $1.25 million in damage. The cause still under investigation. Chicago sports, Northwestern over Wisconsin, 54-52. DePaul lost to Seton Hall, 69-64. And they'll kick off the final 9 holes at Pebble Beach for this morning with Justin Rose, your leader. The news service of the AM 560 mobile app. Download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees constant attacks.
Now they're trying to bring up charges on him again on the Stormy Daniels thing. They're just trying desperately. They remind me of like little chihuahuas nipping at your ankle, just doing whatever they can to topple the candidacy of Donald Trump. They cannot believe this guy is still around.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, and I'm currently planning my 2023 auction calendar now. I want to talk to you about items that you are considering selling. You already know that Donnelly Auctions specializes in things like guns and military, automobiles and motorcycles, and Petroliana. But I want to help you sell what you have collected. We have sold collections of police and fire badges, coin collections, and we've set a world record price for our last license plate auction. I may not be a magician, but I can make your collection disappear and reappear as money in your wallet. Donnelly Auctions is a worldwide marketplace with warehouses of collectibles. If you're selling, we can get you top dollar. Monthly auctions you can view and bid online as well. Contact me at 815-923-7000 or through our website at DonnellyAuctions.com for a free, no-obligation consultation. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a physician, and I still see patients every day. And, so I tell my patients about this. And they ask me, well, what are you taking? And so I tell them, taking Balance of Nature. And they go, oh, yeah, I've heard about that. So I tell them how to get it. I give them your telephone number, 246-8751. And I tell them, call this number. And I said, they'll take care of you after that. So, I'm primary care. I really think that it works well for people to have fruits and vegetables.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength of the issuing insurer. If you're over 50 and thinking about retirement, it's vital that you have a protected income flow you can rely on. Not so easy these days. That's why you need the book that could help protect your retirement future. The book, Guarantee Your Retirement, from financial leader JDM Financial, takes all the mystery out of ways an annuity strategy can help safeguard your retirement with their step-by-step method for boosting your retirement income as much as 40%. And today, the book is yours free. Ready to help recession-proof your retirement? This free book can be a roadmap to helping you avoid the uncertainties of the economy that could make your retirement dreams fade. Don't risk losing some of what you've worked a lifetime for. For your free copy of Guarantee Your Retirement from JDM Financial, call now. Call 800-337-8051. That's 800-337-8051. 800-337-8051.
8:39. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We told you about the fire in Chicago Heights. It's really not bottling up too much in the area. Just watch it on Halstead between around 110th and 111th as emergency equipment enters and exits that massive warehouse fire, again in Chicago Heights. Traveling on the interior expressways, Lake Cook Road to Montrose, 19 on the inbound Edens. Inbound Kennedy at 46. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Watch out for an accident. Right lane block between Canfield and Harlem. Inbound Ike, 60 minutes, full hour, 390 to the old post office with an accident, blocking a left-hand lane inbound after St. Charles Road. Dan Ryan in, 27 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jammed up northbound Bryn Mawr to Hollywood. Park Ridge accident, D Row between Virginia and Bussey Highway, and train tracks there as well closed down because of the weekend's cold weather. Traffic is a service of Staples stores. Get $10 off your document printing and marketing materials order of $50 or more. Ends $225. See staples.com/stores/printbig for details. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun will be breezy this afternoon, high 42. 24 right now at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
This could use a brand new coat. That's not allowed, I'd warn you, don't. That guy is crapping on the ground. Hey, it happens. Wait, how's that even allowed? Because you're living in a clown world, a cool to pull your pants on down world. There's only one you can paint brown world. You'll never guess which one in clown world. The cost of rent is getting dear. We should build our new neighborhood here. Zoning forbids new housing builds. We were actually just gonna throw up some tents and, do some heroin. Well, that's acceptable in clown world. Hey, can't let children walk downtown world. They're playing hopscotch, look around world. They're avoiding needles. Oh, it's okay in clown world. He saved that disabled lady. Risked his life to save 2 babies. And to his valor, we're in debt. Wait, have you had your booster yet? Well, I've had COVID and I had an adverse. Looking for a new job in clown world. Risk your life so they don't drown world. A down is up and up is down world. Fired is dangerous, but from clown world. Oh, we're all living in a clown world. A common sense cannot be found world. You can paint the sidewalk brown world. We're living in a clown world. Yes, we're all living in a clown world.
That's from the fertile mind of Remy over at Reason.com. Love the Remy parody songs. They're so good. So well written and performed. Part of Clown World.
Yeah.
Perfect intro for our next topic and our next guest. The Fed Reserve, the bank, is the bank that's charged with combating inflation and sticking a soft landing to make sure we don't go in recession. And that bank, if it were a private bank, would be insolvent. Clown World. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Judge Glock, contributing editor at City Journal, author of The Dead Pledge, The Origins of the Mortgage Market and Federal Bailouts, 1913 to 1939. Judge Glock, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
And so this clown world where the Fed is going to save the world's largest economy from itself, how exactly is it going when we're asking ourselves questions like, is the creation of 517,000 new jobs in January, is that good news or bad news? We don't know.
Well, on its own, that's good news. But of course, as your listeners probably know, a lot of how the markets react and how other people react depends on how the Fed reads that news. And if the Fed reads that news as the economy is going too hot or that there's still inflationary pressures, that could therefore, ironically, be bad news. And they could tamp the brakes down more and try to fight inflation more with higher interest rates. But so far, at least, they've had some success reducing inflation. But as I described in the piece, that also has a lot of costs for the Federal Reserve itself.
Well, we talked about this a little bit last week with our friend Alex Pollock, as a former banker and as well as government regulator. And he basically is just detailing, as you did in your piece, somewhat the precarious financial condition the Fed itself is in. Now, it doesn't matter much to the Fed because they can print money, but it does matter to the larger economy that is so dependent on Fed policy.
Absolutely. And so one, as your previous guest mentioned, that it doesn't seem to have a big effect on the Federal Reserve itself, even if it's quote-unquote losing money, and it is every month. It's paying more money out than it's taking in. There are other costs. Now, one is that the taxpayer doesn't get the Fed income. For a long time, the Federal Reserve was giving up to $100 billion a year to the U.S. Treasury. That was a nice pick-me-up for the U.S. Congress that didn't have to tax that money from the taxpayers. Now that is gone. The Fed is losing money and won't be giving money to the taxpayers for quite a while, maybe for another decade or so. So the other problem, of course, though, is that the high inflation and high interest rates are both devastating a lot of economic activity in America. It's driving wages down. It's making businesses that have to raise money for long terms very difficult for them to raise those funds. And there's no sign that that's going to stop anytime in the near future.
But Biden keeps saying wages are up. Things are looking good. So is that just another Biden lie?
Well, it's wages are up if you're just looking at your nominal wages. If you're looking at the number of just the pure numbers on your paycheck, yeah, those numbers have gone up over the past year and a half or so. The problem is inflation has gone up even more. So depending on how you look at, for a while, Americans' real wages were down by about 3% over a year, about the same amount they were down actually in the Great Recession of 2008. Inflation has dipped a little bit since then, and wages have continued to go up. So now it's about breaking even, but still, anyone who claims that by looking at just the raw numbers that wages are going up quickly is definitely misleading you. If anything, they're going down.
You've got some of the big shooters on Wall Street from Morgan Stanley and Goldman saying, well, good likelihood, still maybe an even money bet that we'll be in recession before the year's end, but good likelihood that we will not be in Q1 or Q2. Do you share that short-term optimism?
Well, it will be almost 100% dependent on what the Federal Reserve does. Whether or not America enters or exits or avoids a recession is pretty much up to the Federal Reserve. Now, they are going to follow the signs, hopefully, whether that means the amount of how fast wages are going up, how fast prices are going up, how robust the economy looks. But it seems that many people at the Federal Reserve understand that they have to squelch inflation now. Otherwise, you could face something like we saw in the 1970s, which is over a decade plus of inflation rates of 5 to 10 to 12%. And nobody wants that. So the Federal Reserve is basically going to keep looking at those numbers, and if they feel that inflation is not coming down fast enough, and it looks like, although it's coming down, it's not coming down very fast, that they're going to have to keep tamping on the brakes and increasing interest rates, and that's going to make a recession more likely.
Is there anything that you see, in addition to persistent inflation, anything you see in the horizon with all this manipulation of the economy by these central bankers in particular? Any sort of contagion you see on the horizon that people aren't talking about that they should be cognizant of in the labor market or the housing market or debt markets?
Well, we do face the real danger that we're going to have another sad effect of the 1970s, which was the stop-go economy, which is that inflation ramped up, the Fed hit the brakes very hard, increased interest rates, the economy fell into recession, and then the Fed went too fast in the other direction and dropped rates too quickly, leading to inflation very rapidly again. And that kind of happened over and over again in that time. And there seems to be some danger of that, where the Fed could allow inflation to explode during the pandemic maybe tamp it down now. It's not operating according to any real consistent rule that we can see, and that's a real danger right now. What you want the Federal Reserve to do is operate under a consistent rule where everyone knows what to expect. They know what's going to happen month to month, and they know what the sort of interest rates are going to be dependent on what inflation in the economy looks like. Now we're all kind of stuck reading tea leaves and seeing what Jerome Powell says month to month about how the inflation is looking, and that's a real danger. The other danger, of course, is that go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, what's the other danger?
Well, the other danger, of course, is that the Federal Reserve is getting involved in a lot more things it didn't used to be involved in. Now, before, in the 1970s, it was basically just worry about the economy and inflation. Those are pretty much its only two jobs. And now it's getting involved in things like, well, we have to worry about climate change. Now we have to worry about inequity and inequality in the American system. And now we're also they're getting more and more involved in different markets. Before, they used to just be buying U.S. Treasury bonds. And now, during the pandemic, they started buying corporate debts. They started buying junk bonds. They started buying municipal bonds. And that's a real danger to the sort of stability of the economy, too, and that you don't want a politicized government institution deciding sort of where credit goes and doesn't go. And that's something that they're getting increasingly involved in, which is a real danger.
Well, if the Fed doesn't buy Illinois bonds, who will? That's the conundrum. So we'll be excited to see which mistakes we choose to repeat. Judge Glock, contributing editor, City Journal, author of The Dead Pledge, The Origins of the Mortgage Market and Federal Bailouts, 1913 to 1939. Judge Glock, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Hi, it's Amy. And by now you've all heard me talk about MyPillow. And now Mike Lindell has done it again with the MyPillow My Slippers. It took him 2 years to develop the perfect slipper designed to wear indoors or outdoors all day long. These slippers are made with MyPillow foam and impact gel to help prevent fatigue, and the outside is made with quality leather suede. For a limited time, Mike is offering $90 off his new My Slippers. The MyPillow slippers are so comfortable that you want to get some for the entire family. I know I did. And it's time to treat your feet, folks. Go to MyPillow.com and click on the radio listener square and use promo code Amy. You'll also get deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the Giza Dream bed sheets, the MyPillow mattress topper, and MyPillow towel set. Go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-489-0201 and use promo code Amy. That's 1-800-489-0201, promo code Amy. Can't remind you enough that Valentine's Day is just 8 days away, and be unique with your gift giving. Give her naturally nude pajamas available exclusively at pajamagram.com. Sexy, sultry, naturally nude. Feels just like her soft skin. Even more alluring than lingerie. The texture and touch of these bad boys are so seductive, you'll both love the feel of them. And guess what? Naturally nude pajamas, if you order today, voila, you get a naturally nude nightie, which is a $75 gift, for free. Yes, ordering today gets you a free $75 nightie. Pajamagram does the wrapping for you, too. It's free gift packaging. So listen, if you missed out on this offer during Christmas, don't make the same mistake twice. Give her naturally nude pajamas. But you need to order today because last year they sold out before Valentine's Day. Go to pajamagram.com. That's pajamagram.com to order naturally nude pajamas. And please, please, please tell them that Dan and Amy sent you. Oh, yeah.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Carr Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second-generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old-school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest-growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Carr Machine and Tool. you set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. In the new year, you've been inundated with messages about top 10 health hacks and 3 ways to stick to your 2023 resolutions. It gets overwhelming and a bit tired and tiresome, doesn't it? But the truth is, we do need to prioritize our health, especially our heart health. Nearly half of adults in the United States have high blood pressure. It's a health condition you can't afford to ignore. That guy, the tennis player in Vegas who died of a heart attack, 43 years old, and they said maybe it was because he was taking the wrong blood pressure medication. So, yeah. You got to learn to manage it, and 120 Life can start you on your way to lower numbers. 120 Life is a juice drink made of 6 natural ingredients, each proven to help lower blood pressure, including pomegranate and hibiscus. It's an 8-ounce bottle of I'm in control of my high blood pressure. Try it for 2 weeks. If you aren't satisfied with the results, you'll get your money back, guaranteed. It's that simple. And for AM 560 listeners, in honor of American Heart Month, 120 Life is offering a special product discount. Go to 120life.com and use the code DAN for 10% off your 2-week trial purchase. That's 120life.com and use the promo code DAN to save 10%.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm in the medical field, and I think when you start out these things, everything from the advertisement sounds so good that you're psyched up for it to work. It's working. Anyway, I'm happy.
Balance of Nature has made a big difference. It's just one of the greatest products, and it's just so simple, and it works.
Balance of Nature is a fantastic product. You could tell it's real. You could taste it. And it gives you really good energy, and it's just right up there with rent, electric cable, like things that you have to have. I'm not cutting Balance of Nature. No, I love it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It's the season for cold floors and high energy bills, and Permaseal can help with that by giving you 15% off all insulation products through the end of February. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer. Permaseal is known as the experts in basement waterproofing and foundation repair. But did you know that we can also make your basement and crawl space warmer and your upstairs living space more comfortable? Our PermaFoam and Silverglow products can be installed in just 1 day and are twice as effective as old-fashioned fiberglass bats. With 44 years experience and over 500,000 Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana homeowners served, Permaseal is proud to be the oldest, most experienced, family-owned waterproofing and foundation repair company in Chicagoland. You can count on our team to provide you with the peace of mind that comes with a dry basement, structurally sound, and healthy home. Call Permaseal today to schedule a free evaluation and save 15% off installation services during the month of February. 800-421-SEAL or visit permaseal.net.
Known best for being better, Permaseal.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Dan. Anything fun this weekend that you did? Did you place any Super Bowl bets for this coming Sunday?
No.
Are you going to?
Yeah, we'll see. I got to look at what the number is. I don't know. Probably not.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not that interested, actually.
Oh, because you're going to watch the Waste Management, right?
You know what I could... Well, I'll probably watch that. You know what I couldn't watch? Did you see that All-Pro game?
Oh, with the flag football in Vegas? Yeah.
I mean, what is the point of that?
No. To promote the Paytons more? I don't know.
Oh, my God. It's just professional sports is just really...
It was
going away.
It was a stretch.
I'm going to have to focus on my actual life if I can't focus on other people's professional athletics.
All right. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning. Thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical director, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer. Back here bright and early tomorrow morning. Now into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
An arson fire at a Southside restaurant. WYND Chicago News Time
Europe
9.
is sending rescue crews, dogs, and listening devices to Turkey and Syria. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, to help search for survivors trapped in earthquake rubble. That's the sound of a building collapsing. Hundreds more went down. It's now up to 2,300 people dead, more than 9,000 injured.
Early this morning, people were